24-year-old student Summer Whiteacre is suing her ex-boyfriend, bookseller Seth Wells, for unpaid credit card charges and an unpaid bill for internet service.
Come to order. All rise. This is case number 88 on the calendar in the matter of Whiteacre versus Wells. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Whiteacre, was the defendant a boyfriend of yours who was living in your house?
Yes, he was.
How long did he live in your house?
About 4 months.
And you were living with your parents?
Yes.
And your claim is that he ran up some bills while he was living there?
Correct.
And in addition to the bills, you also have an IOU that he signed?
Correct.
The defendant says, he doesn't talk much about the bills in his answer, but he says he was forced to sign the IOU under duress. So first, let me take a look at the bills, then let me take a look at the IOU. You're going to tell me a little bit about why he came to live with you and what the bills were for, and then I'm going to hear all about the duress.
Everything.
So while I'm looking at this, because I can usually do a couple of things at one time, as long as they're not too hard, can you tell me why he came to live in your house?
He came to live with us 17th of October in 2001. We had been dating when we both lived in Seattle. I had to return home to California, and he had to return to Syracuse. We had been communicating in between then, letters, emails, phone calls, and we both thought that each other was the right one.
You both thought what?
Each other was the right one. And, well, we aren't, but...
Go ahead.
Okay, and so he came to live with me, and it was only supposed to have been until about the middle of January. Things had deteriorated so much by then that he moved out the next month.
And while he was there, what kind of bills did he run up?
When he arrived, he had virtually no clothes. I ended up taking him to Mervyn's, and he spent about $150 there on clothing for work.
Well, what did you tell him about that expenditure?
When he came to me and said, would it be all right if I went and got some clothes and used your credit card? I'll take over the payments. And I said, well, I actually owe some money on my credit card, so why don't you just give me the money? And he said, okay.
And he never gave you the money?
He ended up giving me about $150 of what he owed, and that's it, in 2 payments.
All right, well, what else? Because I see a lot of little charges here. $15, $3.57.
He actually paid some of that money.
Well, what didn't he pay?
He paid 2 things virtually when they were put on my credit card. One was his cell phone bill, which was $53, and another one he gave me partial amounts of money, the $80 for cable internet bill, I believe.
What's $103 in interest?
That's how much interest. He's been accruing this interest more or less since October.
I'm going to read something to you. I, Seth Q. Wells, do agree to pay Summer Whiteacre $343.17 in credit card charges, and then you crossed out, I assume you crossed out, I do further agree to pay 6% interest calculated each month until the end of April, when the above debt will be paid in full. Did you cross out the interest part? Take a look.
No, she crossed that out. I did
Okay.
not cross it out.
That is your signature.
Yes, it is.
Then here we go, sir. It's your turn. Talk to me about this duress.
Basically, she was in the process of taking me, she was moving the last of my stuff to my new apartment. And we had been discussing the relationship and the end of the relationship. And it basically got to the point where she was really upset and out of control. Like, literally, I was not...
Explain to me out of control.
Basically, she was crying and yelling at me, saying that it was, you know, I needed to accept my part of the responsibility for the relationship, and her speed was increasing. And
You were in the car?
Yes, I was in the passenger seat. And I literally did not feel safe under the situation. And she has actually been in the same mindset before, and I felt the same feeling of being unsafe with the way she was driving.
He chooses to bring up... Shh. I'm sorry.
And, I mean, I did not feel...
Will you get to the IOU, please?
Yeah, well, she handed it over to me saying, you have to sign this. And this is when she was...
Where was it when she handed it to you?
It wasn't her hand, and she handed it over to me. We were in the car.
Well, she was driving.
Yes.
And she's crying.
Yes.
And she hands this over to you.
She looked over and handed it to me.
Right? Is that when you gave him this, in the car?
Yes, it was in the car.
Uh-huh. Go ahead. So you signed it while she was driving?
Right. I basically felt that if I did not sign it, then it would have escalated, and I didn't know to what point.
Okay, now you sign it.
Yes.
Did she calm down?
Yes, she did.
And were you still holding it?
Yes, I was. Well, after I signed it, I did hand it back.
And she took it back while she was...
While she was driving.
While she was driving?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And hysterical?
Yes.
Does that sound right to you?
Not really. I was upset. I wanted him to stand up and say, yes, I am responsible for these charges. He chooses to bring up relationship issues in the car.
I'm not interested in relationship issues. I'm talking about fear.
I don't see how he could have been afraid. He is quite a bit larger than I am.
He doesn't have the car behind him.
He could have overpowered me at any time.
I wasn't afraid of you.
No.
I was afraid of driving.
Look, Mr. Wells, you signed the IOU.
Yes.
Pay the lady the money, $343.17. Pretty exact amount. Are these your charges?
Yes.
Then what are we here for?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
At worst, you're paying for your own clothing that I assume you're wearing.
Yes.
She's not getting any pleasure from it. She's not seeing you in it when you're going out for dinner.
And later today,
I've trained hundreds of people at that school. I've never had an incident like this.
That's a pretty nasty email from a businessman.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Summer Whiteacre says ex-boyfriend Seth Wells owes for credit card charges and bills while they live together. Seth says he was forced to sign a promissory note.
If they're your charges, who cares whether you were forced to sign an IOU under duress?
Part of them that was already paid for.
She gave you credit for what you paid for, sir.
Right, what I paid for is part of that list. It's not the clothing. The clothing, she had said, and I said, you know, it'll be a while before I get, you know, my first paycheck and be able, you know, to pay you back. And she said, don't worry about it, you don't have to. It was the beginning of the relationship, and, you know, when everything is, like, wonderful and happy. And I said, okay. She said, you don't have to, don't worry about it. And I said, are you sure? And she said, yes.
So you're saying to me these are your charges, but it was a gift?
The clothing, yes, was a gift.
Yes.
The rest of it was not, which I did pay the $150.
But there's more charges here than $150, sir.
I'm not exactly sure how that's been. It's been increasing every time she talks to me, so I'm not sure what she's. It's always a new amount.
I don't know. All I know is I can't be bothered with the two of you anymore. We're talking about $343.17. At worst, you're paying for your own clothing. That's the worst scenario. Right. Clothing that I assume you're wearing. Is that right? Not
Actually,
today, necessarily. But you're wearing it.
Yes.
She's not getting any pleasure from it. She's not seeing you in it when you're going out for dinner.
No.
So, don't make a big deal of it. Just pay the money, put a period, sayonara, and goodbye. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff, $343.17. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I broke up because she had cheated on me. She got bitter because I broke up with her, and now suddenly, you know, now you owe me this, now you owe me that.
He's the biggest loser I could have ever found in my entire life, and he can't own up to his mistakes.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Messerman versus Johnson. Step forward, please.
Pet grooming business owner Linda Messerman is suing her neighbor, camera assistant Peter Johnson, for starting a fire in her kitchen.
Miss Messerman, really the defendant was a friend of yours because you asked him to house sit and pet sit for you when you were going on vacation or someplace out of town. He said he would be more than happy to do that. He would stay in your apartment. You were not paying him for that service. Is that correct so far?
Yes, correct.
That correct so far?
Yes.
He stayed in the apartment while he was there. He did some baking, caused a fire, he says, because he didn't know that you had two ovens. One of the ovens you used for storage. And when he lit the other oven, both ovens went on. The other oven went up in flames, causing the fire.
Correct.
Right? And therefore it was an accident that is partially her fault because she shouldn't have been using the oven for storage. Is that right?
Correct.
You had two ovens?
I had two ovens, Your Honor.
One of the ovens you used for storage?
Yes, for pots and pans only, and baked goods, because I never use my ovens. I'm a Jewish woman, I don't cook.
I understand that. But he's not Jewish, right?
Yes.
You are Jewish.
No, I'm not.
You're not Jewish.
I'm not Jewish.
So, you see, he thinks that people actually use ovens for things
Go
rather
figure.
than storage and filing.
Of course not.
You know that that's ridiculous.
Right. Of course it is.
Tell me about the fire, Mr. Johnson.
I was getting ready to make some cookies and turned on the oven and walked away, and about 2 minutes later the alarm goes off and I walk back there and I'm thinking I didn't have anything in this oven yet, and there's this other thing that's on fire, and I'm like, oh my God, I got an inferno going on. So it was like, I don't have anything to put this thing out with, so I have to call my brother. So luckily we live next door, and so he brings the fire extinguishers and we put the thing out, and basically that's it.
Can I see photographs of the kitchen, please?
Many, many. I have photographs of the walls, the soot, the carpets, the ovens. Just, it's a nightmare.
Okay. Listen, it's an accident. It's really an accident caused by cultural differences, cultural and religious differences, right?
Well, it was very obvious that it was a double oven. I mean...
What she said was absolutely right.
Unfortunately, yes.
It's an accident. He didn't mean to do it, right?
No, of course he didn't mean to, but it was a double oven and he didn't notice.
He's at least partially responsible. You don't keep flammable stuff in an
It's
oven.
not flammables. It was pots and pans and stuff that I would use in the oven had I actually used the oven.
No. It had to be flammable because it caught on fire.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's flammable.
Correct.
So there is
I'm
stuff
assuming
here.
there's some plastic or something.
Plastic that caught on fire. Right, that didn't belong in an oven. Okay.
It's my mother's fault.
What I don't understand, Mr. Johnson, is that there are two ovens here, correct?
Correct.
You could have opened up the ovens and taken a look inside.
You know, I really didn't see it.
That's your fault that you didn't see it. One's on top of the other. It's not hiding.
Well, they didn't have like two knobs. I just saw the one, and I figured it was just one oven.
But that was a mistake.
Okay.
It was a mistake that contributed to this fire, right?
I guess.
You feel no responsibility whatsoever?
Well, I feel bad about it, and, you know, I truly do. I feel really bad, but it's like I didn't intend this to happen.
Your responsibility, you believe, is limited to how badly you feel.
No, I feel that I did a bad thing, but it wasn't, like I said, an intentional...
Absolutely not. And she also didn't intend to have the stuff that she was storing in the oven ignite and cause all this damage. It was stupid of her to keep stuff there that was flammable, and it was stupid of you to turn on an oven until you looked in both places and figured out what was in there. Now, Miss Messerman.
Yes.
You have homeowners insurance?
Actually, my father had been telling me to get it and get it and get it, and I have not gotten it yet. I know.
Well, that's very foolish, Miss Messerman.
I know.
Now, do you own or rent this apartment?
I rent.
What about the landlord? What is the landlord doing about your problem?
The landlord actually is a whole other story. I have lived there for 7 years. I've never had a problem. Now they want to evict me.
Yes.
They think I'm negligent. I had to hire an attorney to keep my home, which is still in progress right now because they're trying to get rid of me because of the fire, thinking that I'm such an idiot that I cause fires.
Well, you're such an idiot because you kept files and stuff in your oven.
Yes.
They didn't understand this cultural thing.
Right. It's my mother's fault.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, that each of you are responsible for this problem. You, because you allowed a situation to exist in your home that was capable of causing a problem, and you, because you didn't look first. You understand?
Correct.
So you're suing for $3,000, and I'm giving you judgment for $1,500. The other part of it is your fault. Don't put flammables in an oven. You don't have to necessarily cook in an oven, but you don't put stuff in it.
Sure.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My carpets are trashed with soot.
It's just one of those weird things you'll never do again.
My walls are completely black.
I was just trying to help out a friend, and next thing I know, I start a fire.
My ceilings are black. My couches are just covered with soot.
Well, we don't see each other much anymore.
Everything is just filthy.
But just be careful.
Maybe I'll hire a cook.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Burdock versus Mayo, step forward, please.
21-year-old student Jessica Burdock is suing her former friend, 20-year-old cashier Jennifer Mayo, for shooting her in the face with a pellet gun. Jennifer says Jessica asked her to do it.
Ms. Burdock, the defendant is a friend of yours, or was a friend of yours.
Was.
And she shot you in the face.
Yes, she did.
With a pellet gun.
Mm-hmm.
Could you step up here? I'd like to look and see where the mark is from that.
I have this scar and an indent in my gum.
Well, the indent in your gum, you don't say. Let me see the scar outside.
And no feeling in 2 teeth.
Okay, step back. I'd like you to tell me when this happened and under what circumstances.
It happened last year, July 7th, I believe. And we were trying to wake him up, and then we brought him.
Let's start from where were you?
We were at my apartment.
How many people were there?
4 of us.
Did you all live together?
Joe and I did, and we had another roommate, and she was over visiting us.
Go ahead.
And we were looking for cameras to go get developed that day, and she found Joe's pellet gun. And she played around with it, and she pointed it at my face. And I said, "Don't point that at me." And she said, "Well, it's never loaded." And she shot it.
No.
Shut up. Don't speak. Don't speak.
And I remember my hair went flying, and I had this really bad sting, and I covered my mouth. And she was like, "Did that hurt?" And I moved my hand, and there was just like blood pouring out, and I started screaming and crying. And
what kind of medical treatment did you need?
I went to the hospital in the ambulance, and then they said that the pellet was lodged too far in my gum to be taken out, so I had to go have oral surgery.
Can I see your medical bills, please?
I also have a picture. There's a police report there also.
Take it away, Miss Mayo. Let's hear you now.
Okay, we had woke up that morning and we had started cleaning her apartment because she had her DHS lady coming to check on the apartment to see if it was all in order. So we were cleaning, and I picked up this pellet gun and said...
What'd you pick it up for?
All of our friends in previous days had passed around the gun to feel the CO2 pressure. That is what I knew it as, a CO2 gun. I had no idea it could carry anything else but CO2.
Shh, shh. Did you hear what I said? So, how old are you?
20 years old.
So you picked it up?
Yes.
How big is this gun? Where was it? Where did you have to get it from in order to pick it up?
It was on a table.
Go ahead.
And so I said, "This is CO2 pressure. You want to feel what this is like?" And she said, "No." I said, "Well, it's not loaded. It can't carry anything but CO2. And so I said, "Here, you want to feel this?" And she said, "Okay, go ahead." And so, and does it hurt? Oh my God. And we were both hysterically crying.
Miss Mayo, that is such a crock that you just gave me. I believe that this was an accident. Listen to me. I believe that this is an accident, which is your defense, that it was an accident, that you didn't know that it was a pellet gun. But let's examine the circumstances of what you did. You picked up a gun like an idiot. You weren't sure what it was, like a fool. You pointed it at someone like a moron. And then you said to another human being who's a friend of yours, "You want to see how this feels." She's smart enough to say, "No." That's what you said. Then you fudged it a little, because then she said, "All right, go ahead. Shoot me," pointing it at her face. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. No, that didn't happen. What happened was she said no, and you were fooling around because you really didn't think that it had a pellet in it. And even if you did think that it was more than that, you had no intention of hurting her. Who should pay these bills?
I have no problem paying these bills.
Good. Perfect. So
Well,
then
there
what are
we
we
go.
doing here? Good. You do something irresponsible, you have to pay. Our medical bills are $1,278. For your stupidity, I'm tacking on another $2,000. $3,278. That's all. Step out.
Thank you.
These are excused. You may step out.
She is very irresponsible. She is selfish. She only thinks about herself. That's all she cares about.
She said, "Okay, you know, let me feel what it feels like."
Zoe lives at home, loaches off of everybody. You don't know that, honey.
Oh, yes, I do.
Oh, no, you don't.
They were shooting themselves in the mouth. They felt it on their face.
I was never around. That did not happen that day. I've never seen them do that. But she knows that that was a pellet gun.
She lies about, "Okay, I have 4 tattoos and only has 1.
About time that she faced up to some responsibilities instead of screwing over all of her previous friends.
Restaurant General Manager Doug Bielefeld and his daughter, 17-year-old Ashley, are suing Ashley's former friend, 18-year-old Christopher Jenneret, for damaging her car. Christopher says he had permission to drive it.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 279 on the calendar in the matter of Bielefeld versus Jenneret. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Bielefeld, other than being the owner of this car that was damaged allegedly by the defendant, you have no independent knowledge of this case. Is that right?
That is correct. She also is it her car. It's not my car.
It's your daughter's car?
Yes, she owns the car.
Okay, so why don't you have a seat?
Okay.
Step up. Your first name is?
Ashley.
Ashley, according to your complaint, you went out partying one evening, and the defendant was within this group that you were partying with. Is that right?
Right.
And you don't know what happened, but you passed out. The next day you woke up and you found that something had happened to your car.
Right.
You don't remember giving anybody permission to drive your car?
No, I don't.
When did this happen?
August 27th.
Your first name is Chris?
Yes.
Tell me about August 27th, Chris.
Well, we were all drinking.
Who was all?
My witnesses, me and Ashley.
These two people?
Right. Just
the four of you?
Yes.
Where were you drinking?
At Jean's apartment.
Who's Jean? Can I see a show of hands, please? Who's Jean?
I'm Jean.
Good. Go ahead.
Okay, we were there drinking. Okay, and as it got later, me and Dalton, my friend Dalton right there, we got hungry, so we wanted to go get something to eat. So we asked Ashley if we could use her car to get something to eat. We went down to Jean's car, got the keys out, took her car to go get something to eat.
Just a minute. Hold on. Hold a second. Let's backtrack a little bit. You were at his house drinking.
Right.
What were you drinking?
It was Smirnoff vodka and Cardi Gold, I believe.
And what time had you started drinking?
We got the stuff about 10 or 10:30, and
How did you get to his house?
I rode with Jean.
Jean?
Yes.
How did Ashley get to the house?
She drove her car.
Herself?
Yes.
What time did she get there?
We got the alcohol and we all just met up there, so right afterwards.
So about 10 or 10:30?
Right. That's when we got the alcohol, and then after that we went to Jean's apartment.
So there were two cars there?
Yes.
Jean's, your friend's, and Ashley's?
Right.
And then I assume you all were drinking. Is that
yes.
right? What time did you get hungry?
I'd say it was around in between 3 and 4, probably 3 or 3:30.
So you had been there for a long time drinking?
Well, we weren't necessarily drinking the whole time nonstop.
I didn't say double time nonstop. You were up from 10:30 till 3:30. You hadn't gone to sleep and you were drinking.
Right.
And you got hungry about 3:30.
Yes.
Where in his apartment were you when you got hungry?
Right there in the living room.
Were you all in the living room?
Yeah.
Where was Ashley in the living room?
Look
at me. Where was Ashley in the living room?
Look
at me.
She was by the couch.
What do you mean by the couch? What does that mean? Standing up at
By the futon. I mean.
What does by the futon mean?
She was standing beside the futon.
Standing?
Yes.
How long had she been standing, Chris?
I don't know.
Well, it was about 3 or 3:30. You got hungry. You turned around and you saw her standing by the futon. What was she doing standing by the futon?
Well, I wasn't really paying attention to her. I mean, I wasn't
So then why did you give me an answer? She was standing by the futon.
I mean, I wasn't specifically watching Ashley, so I couldn't tell you exactly what she was doing. But we were all in the living room. We were all by his door. Me and Dalton got hungry. We asked her if we could use her car. We went down the stairs.
Why didn't you use his car?
I just didn't ask him because I figured he'd say no.
Why did you think he'd... Shh! Why did you think he'd say no? He's your friend.
Well, because he's a little more picky about his cars, so...
What does that mean? Explain that to me, Chris. What do you mean a little more picky about his cars?
He really doesn't like to just let people borrow them or
Especially
nothing,
people
so
who have been drinking.
Probably.
Now, what kind of car does Ashley have?
Dodge Neon.
A new one, an old one?
It's like a 95.
Is it in good shape, or was it in good shape?
Yeah.
What kind of car does he have?
ZX2, 98.
So, who got hungry?
Me and Dalton.
So the boys got hungry?
Yes.
Ashley wasn't hungry?
Nothing I know of.
Did you ask her?
No.
No, let me go back there for 1 second, Chris. You were... Shh, please. You were going out to get food because you were hungry, is that right?
Yes.
Who was hungry?
Me and Dalton.
What's the other kid's name?
Gene.
Gene. Was Gene hungry too?
I don't know. I didn't ask him.
Why not?
Because me and Dalton were hungry and we just wanted to go get something to eat.
You mean you're just selfish people?
No.
You had 4 of you there, 4 of you up drinking all night, and you say, we're going to get something to eat. So you don't say to your friends who you've been drinking with all night, hey, we're going to get something to eat. You want us to bring you back something? You don't say that?
No.
No? Where were you going, by the way, at 3:30 in the morning to get something to eat?
I was going over to my friend's apartment to get some pizza that they had, so we were just going to heat it up and eat it.
To get pizza not from a store, from his freezer?
It was from a store, but it was in the fridge, so it was like leftovers.
How did you know that he had that leftover pizza?
I had talked to him earlier.
When earlier?
Before we got the alcohol, probably around 8 or 9.
Oh, tell me about that conversation that you had with him. I'm curious. Come on, Chris.
Well, we
Come
were
on,
just
the story's
talking
getting better.
and I knew...
Story's getting better.
Well,
About
we were
8,
just
9 o'clock. I'm speaking. When I speak, you don't.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm sorry. I took your car. I was drunk. I'm a fool. I'm an idiot.
Okay, but I don't know...
I don't want to hear you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Ashley Bielefeld says former friend Christopher Jenneret drove her car without permission and damaged it. Ashley says Christopher took her keys while she was passed out cold.
Now, at 8, 9 o'clock, before you went to get the vodka, you spoke to your friend and said, listen, I may get hungry later tonight. You got any food in your house? Is that what you, so that was the conversation?
No, I did not even plan on going over there. It's
so
just
tell me about the conversation.
I can't remember the conversation.
Try to think hard. You weren't drunk at that point at 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening.
He just called. We just talked, just like friend-to-friend conversation, and I knew that he had leftover pizza, and I knew he would still be up at that time, so we went over there to get some, which I never even ate because of this.
Because of what?
The car.
Well, now tell me what happened with the car. You went over to Ashley and you asked her for the keys when she was standing next to the futon after having been drinking from 10:30 until 3:30 in the morning.
Right.
And she said, sure, take my keys. She gave you the keys, is that right?
Yes.
And you got into the car?
the keys were in Jean's car.
You went down to Jean's car and got the keys?
Right.
What were the keys to Ashley's car doing in Jean's car?
I have no idea. I just know that the keys were in Jean's car.
How do you know that?
Well, okay, we went joyriding for a little while in Jean's car, all 4 of us. We drove around.
When did you do that?
This was before we got food, but after we started drinking. We were a little bored. We went driving around.
So that's somewhere after 10:30, but before 3:30.
Mm-hmm.
You went joyriding.
Yeah, it was probably
in his
around
car.
12, maybe.
Shh. In his car.
Yes.
So explain to me how her keys were in his car.
She had left them in there.
How do you know that?
I just knew.
How did you know? Look at me.
Because I knew they were in there. I saw them in there. I mean,
you saw them?
Yeah.
Just a minute. Because you saw them, that she had left them in the car. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Keep going. I love it when they sort of trip over their ties.
Okay, so where would you like me to begin at?
No, I'd like you to continue, sir. You asked her for the keys when she was standing next to the futon.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
But you already knew where the car keys were because they were downstairs in the car because that's where you had seen them when you were joyriding at 12:30. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So then you went downstairs and you took the keys out of Jean's car. Let's pick it up from there.
Okay. So then me and Dalton got in her car. We started driving. We were getting on the highway to go over there. Whenever we were entering the highway, we had to turn right to get on the ramp. So we turned right, we hit something, we had a blowout, we pulled over, and me and Dalton had walked back to Jean's house so that we could get him to take us back and help us change the tire and everything. So, because there was like nothing in there to fix the tire with, so we had Jean come back and help us.
Now, Ashley, according to you, you were so drunk you just either drunk or drugged or something. You passed out and you don't know what was going on.
I don't remember anything after we were driving in Jean's car.
Can I see the estimates for the car, please? Now, Mr. Jenneret, I am going to sum up the credible parts of your testimony, sir. And maybe this is a good lesson for you. Just because people are older doesn't mean that they're stupid. You were trying to get over telling me a story that didn't make sense. And I assume that you understand at this point that I understand that the story you gave me initially and the story that you wrote in your answer was a lot of who shot John. Because I believe that you all were drinking from 10:30 until 3:30. I believe that you all went out joyriding in his car. I believe that you decided to continue the joyriding and that he said to you, you're not taking my car again because you're drunk as a skunk. I do not believe that you asked her for the keys to her car because you already knew where the keys to her car were. You had seen them in the car at 12:30 when you came in, so you knew that her keys were downstairs. Why in the world would you go over to her when she was standing next to a futon and saying, "Can I have your keys?" when you already knew where her keys were? Stand up straight. Now, when you hit something, according to you, you just had a blowout and that's all you had. No, that's not what happened. You hit something with such force that the tire blew out, knocking the whole alignment off the car. That's what happened. You're responsible. Period. End of discussion. I'm sorry. I took your car without permission. I was drunk. I had no right to be driving a car. I not only could have killed myself, I could have killed somebody else. I'm a fool. I'm an idiot. And I'm going to pay for the damage I caused. That's what you do.
Okay, but I don't know.
I don't want to hear you. Whatever damage it was, maybe it wasn't attributed to you. Sometimes when you're stupid, you got to pay for things that weren't even your fault. Sometimes you do. Maybe the bumper on the car was loose and might have fallen off the next day, but because you took the car and hit something, it was damaged already. You damaged it a little bit more, it fell off. It's your fault. You had no right to get behind the wheel of a car, any car, yours, his, hers, because you were drinking. No right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Ashley Bielefeld says former friend Christopher Jenneret drove her car without permission and damaged it. Ashley says Christopher took her keys while she was passed out cold.
Anything you want to say? Anything you...
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
I just want to make sure that the fact that he did ask for the keys, me and Ashley were sitting on the couch together.
No. You weren't sitting on the couch, sir. She was standing by the futon.
That is the couch.
She was standing by the futon.
I'm saying we were sitting on the couch.
Well, so far that's a different story that he just gave me.
That's my story. I
Let's
believe...
go. So you and Ashley were sitting on the couch. And?
Yes. And he came up, asked her for her car, and she said her keys were in my car. And then he asked me for my keys to see if he could go to the car and get her keys, which is what happened.
Well, but that's not what he just told me, sir. He told me that he saw the keys in her car after you had been joyriding in your car. So he knew where the keys were. You see, that's what he just told me. Maybe you're all a little blurred because you were drinking too much.
I understand.
Is that a possibility?
Yes, it is.
Good. Sit down. You want to say anything?
No, I'm all right.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $744.52. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't remember that night.
Well, yeah, we were partying and it did get out of hand.
They're obviously too young and irresponsible to be doing acts like this, drinking and driving, out running around.
What's done is done.
I want her to be able to put this behind her and move on.
We don't even talk anymore.
Not to drink as much, maybe.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of DeMars versus Bona, step forward, please.
Food server Janice DeMars is suing her ex-boyfriend, computer technician Rockford Bona, for an unpaid loan to start a business. Rockford says the money wasn't a loan, it was an investment.
Mr. Morris, you and Mr. Bona were in a relationship several years ago, and you claim that you made a loan to him. He was starting up a new business. You want that money back. How much did you loan him?
$5,000, Your Honor.
Mr. Bona says that this was never a loan. This was an investment that you made in his business. I've read your papers very carefully. I want you to tell me when you gave him the money and tell me about the circumstances surrounding you giving him the money.
Okay. I met him in 1998, and July 23rd, 1999, I was over at Rocky's house, and we discussed a loan about him creating some software. So I went home, got the money, and put it in the bank. Jim came with me. So I do have a witness. I have the receipt because he gave me a deposit slip, and that was the circumstances of the loan. And I did want it back. It was never a gift.
He didn't say it was a gift. All right, now you tell me your end, Mr. Bona, and then I'll make a judgment. Go ahead.
All right, Your Honor. First of all, this is really not about money. It's about relationship issues.
Let me hear about the money first.
Okay.
You worry about the relationship. I'll worry about the money.
I was working for a company, and Janice here was with me when I was talking to the marketing guy about how the company was going to try to solicit investors for the software. She got excited about it and wanted to invest in it. I said, great. First of all, it's not my company, and she dealt with them directly, not I.
I did not, Your Honor.
Where did you put the money?
I did not take the money, Your Honor. She put it in the company herself.
Put it in your account.
I put it in his account. He gave me a deposit slip, and I put it in the bank in St. Cloud because he lives in Ham Lake, which is 60 miles away or so.
Well, did the money eventually find its way to your account, sir?
Not to me personally, no. Your
To whom?
I have a receipt.
Shh. To whom?
To the corporation I was working for.
Okay. Were you a shareholder in this corporation?
No.
Did they go out of business?
Correct.
When did they go out of business?
2000.
I was never notified. He never kept me informed about any business loan. It was not a business loan. It was
Sure
personal.
it was. You want to know why it was, Mr. Morris? And I'm going to tell you why. Because I read your complaint very carefully. This is what you said in your complaint. We discussed from the beginning that I would not get any money back for at least 2 or 3 years because that is how long he expected it would take to make a profit.
But
that's what you wrote. Bert, that is right, isn't it?
But after 2 years, he didn't even try to pay me
That's
back.
right.
He never called.
He doesn't. Listen to me. Listen to me.
Whatsoever.
This is what you wrote in your complaint, Mr. Morris. So this was money, whether it was an investment or a loan. It is clear to me that the intention was that you would get your money back when the company made a profit.
That was
Here are your
just-
words. I'm going to read them again,
Never
Mr.
discussed
Morris.
that way.
I'm going to read them again. We discussed from the beginning that I would not get my money back for at least 2 years because that is how long he expected it would take to make a profit.
Yeah, if he would call me up, keep me informed, and let me know what's going on. He never did anything like that.
Hey,
And
it's
it
your
was like-
money. So you got to be smart enough to call him.
Yeah, I guess.
You got to be smart enough to call the company. That's your job.
Well,
That's
he
your
did,
job.
He took advantage of me. He
So
really
take
did.
advantage of you. What does that have to do with me? You gave him money. You invested in either him or the company. Clearly, you expected to get money back. You expected
Yes,
to
I
get
did.
your money back
Yes,
from
I
the
did.
company.
Well,
Because
it
that's
was a
what you said in your
Yeah.
sworn complaint. When the company made a profit, you expected to get your money back. That's what you said.
Well, I expected him to let me know what was going on. There was no papers filed
Well,
about the
that's-
company whatsoever.
My
I put it
dear,
in-
there were no papers filed that this was a loan.
And
there were no papers filed that this was a loan.
Then I do have.
I, Mr. Bona, agreed to repay Mr. Morris $5,000 within 2 years because the money she gave me is a loan.
I have 2 personal receipts that were signed by him too.
For?
$2,000 and $500 apiece.
That has nothing to do with this. What are you bringing this in for? I'll see those.
Okay.
Let me see. Let me see those.
He promised to pay me back.
Shh, just a second. What is it? Here you go. Now, this wasn't the $5,000. Is that right, Mr. Morris?
No, this is...
This wasn't the $5,000.
No.
So he promised to pay you these 2 things. I received $2,500 from Mr. Morris and promised to pay her back. I owe Janice DeMars $2,500 for 1 engagement ring set, right? Now,
Yes,
you're not
but
suing for any of this, but when he gives you a loan, he gives you a note.
But then when he agreed to come on the show, he comes over to my place and he goes, Janice, I'm going on the show for a favor for you. Just consider yourself a $5,000 hooker. And that's
Mr.
what you
Morris,
told me. It's
Mr. Morris,
ridiculous.
Mr. Morris, he may not be a nice person, madam.
No, he's not.
Very good. You gave him $5,000 anticipating this company was going to make money. It didn't make money. It went out of business. You should have kept better
Where's
track
the
of your
proof?
money. Your case
Where's
is
the
dismissed.
proof?
Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, it's totally unfair because it was not a business loan.
This woman is completely insane.
I feel like I should get my money back. I really do. I gave him that money and he's not going to have to pay me back.
I can't believe the lengths this woman has gone to sabotage my relationship with the woman I love.
He came over to my house and said, you know, I'm doing this as a favor for you.
The issue is about a relationship, not about money.
He kept on and off in a relationship, and that's why I waited, because I thought, you know, I was being nice.
She became addicted to me.
But it doesn't pay to be nice.
Some kind of sexual power, you know.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hastava versus Lupo, step forward, please.
21-year-old accountant Nicole Hastava is suing her ex-fiancé, 26-year-old mechanic Christopher Lupo, for his share of a wedding that never happened.
Mrs. Hastava, you and the defendant have been engaged to be married. And according to your complaint, you broke the engagement for whatever reason, and you had an agreement with the defendant that you were each going to contribute to the wedding.
Correct.
You put down certain deposits on things for the wedding, and when the engagement was broken, the defendant refused to pay you half of the deposits, which was your agreement. In addition, you purchased a wedding dress that you claimed that you stored or left at the defendant's mother's home that he refuses to return to you. Mr. Lupo says that you did have an agreement that you were going to share the costs of the wedding, correct?
Yes, correct.
But when you broke the engagement, you kept everything. I don't know what everything is. And in addition, you kept the engagement ring.
Correct.
So he's not paying for anything, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so you really want the engagement ring back, right?
Yeah. Yes.
You're a quick learner. Did you want your dog?
No, she could keep it. Just the point, like, if I wanted to take it back, she wouldn't have gave it to me anyway, but, you know, she can keep it.
Mr. Lupo, do you want your dog? The answer is no, she could keep the dog.
She could keep the dog.
But you want your personal items back?
Yes.
And the engagement ring?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have his personal items? It's not an answer,
I
madam.
do have some of his clothes at the house.
Well, tell me, what do you have?
Maybe some sweatpants. I mean, it's
Do
really
you
nothing
have a jacket?
I didn't see the leather jacket. I did look for it, and I didn't find it.
Now, where's the engagement ring?
I have the engagement ring. I told him I'll give it back to him. I have no problem giving it back to him as long as I get the money for the from the deposits. But I did pay $300 towards the engagement ring, and I have that also.
Did she pay some money towards the engagement ring, Mr. Lupo?
Yes, she did.
How much was the ring?
$2,700, $2,500.
I'm trying to resolve this, Mr. Lupo, and I don't want you to. I don't want you to think that this is an interview for The Sopranos. Do you understand? It is not. It is not. So we're going to try to behave like this is a courtroom, and this is a serious piece of business.
She has the receipt.
Mr. Lupo, do you understand what I'm saying to you, sir?
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do, because I'm sure that you don't talk the way you're talking to me if you go and you're talking to a priest. Do you understand? You understand? You try to act respectfully, which is exactly what I expect. I expect you to act as if you would talk. Strike that. I expect you to talk as if you were talking to a doctor who just told you that he thought you had a terminal illness. Okay? Does that settle it down for you?
Yes.
Good. Perfect. Now, how much was the engagement ring, sir?
It was around $2,700.
Is that correct?
I wasn't there when he bought it.
Fine. Is it a nice ring? Do you have it with you?
I don't have it with me, no.
Fine. $2,700. And she gave you $300 towards the ring?
Yeah, because she wanted to change the diamond.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Yes. Next time you get engaged, sir, don't let your fiancé give you anything towards the ring. It's tacky, especially when you're spending so much for the ring.
Well, I thought she would have been happy with the diamond I gave her, but she wanted to change it. So.
That should have been something that gave you a ding-a-ling, ding-a-ling, ding-a-ling. Okay. So far we're down to $2,400 that the ring was worth. Now, how much were the deposits that you put down?
Half of it is $2,100.
Okay, $2,100.
$2,110.
And does your mother have her wedding dress?
I'm not sure. I'll be honest with you, I don't know where it is.
I'm sure she has it. If that's where you put the wedding dress, right, you gave it to his mother.
I left it at his house because I figured it would be better kept there.
So you have to get the wedding dress back. Do you understand? You're going to get the engagement ring back because we're going to resolve this very fast because clearly you two folks are not in love anymore, right? Well, at least if you are still in love, you're going to start at ground zero so that you can start building on this lovely relationship again if you so choose. Once you get back the engagement ring, you don't want to give it to anybody else, so you're going to sell it. Then you'll have some money to give her back for the deposits. Is that reasonable?
That's reasonable.
There you go. Look how happy we are. Now, you're going to look very, very hard for his personal property. You have some sweaters that belong to him. He's looking for his jacket. He wants his jacket back in addition to the engagement ring. Clear?
Yes.
Now, you are going to get your $2,100 24 hours after he gets his clothes and his engagement ring. Do you understand?
Yes.
You're going to give her the $2,100 soon as
I get my stuff, she could have it. No problem.
And you're going to get your stuff 5 days from today. 6 days from today, she gets her $2,100.
Sounds good.
Happy?
Yes.
Happy?
Can I just ask one question, Your Honor?
Yes.
What about the $300 that was put towards the ring? I didn't include that with the...
No, just a second.
Oh, okay.
You're absolutely right, because he's getting it back.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to add that on to the $2,100.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Sounds fair.
By the way, just for my own interest, why did you put $300 towards the ring? Is it true you wanted a different stone?
We changed the diamond.
You wanted a different diamond.
Mm-hmm.
Not we changed the diamond. He doesn't know anything about diamonds. Trust me, he knows nothing about diamonds.
It looked nice.
It looked nice. It looked nice. You wanted a different diamond,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And he agreed.
Yes.
Fine. Then you agreed. Nice guy. So $2,400. What else?
My records, my DJ equipment.
Everything that belongs to him.
I'll give him everything back.
You give
I don't
him
have a
everything
problem
back,
with that.
because one day after he gets everything back, you
I'll
get your
get my
money.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you don't get your money. Right?
Yes.
Right? So now he's going to get everything back. Goodbye, good luck, have a happy life.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
As long as she gives my stuff back, I got no problem paying her money.
He wasn't living up to any of the agreements. He would tell her, I'll pay her, and then he wouldn't come through.
Hopefully work things out. I don't know, maybe, you know, in the future.
Well, if he had feelings for me, he wouldn't have cheated on me at his friend's bachelor party.
I guess we were both immature at the time, you know what I mean?
There wasn't any way I could have done it on my own. I needed Judge Judy's help.
Healthcare worker Ann Sanchez is suing her daughter, 25-year-old homemaker Felicia Ruiz Mendoza, for an unpaid car loan and for the return of stolen property. Felicia is countersuing for the return of car payments, assault, and for filing false charges with Child Protective Services.
Order. All rise.
This is case number 185 on the calendar in the matter of Sanchez versus Ruiz Mendoza. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Ms. Sanchez, the defendant is your daughter, is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Your cause of action has two parts. One is for car payments that you say you were forced to make when your daughter didn't make payments on a car that she had bought. The second thing is for items of furniture that you bought for her with certain conditions. She reneged on the conditions, and you feel as if she should be responsible for paying for the furniture, or you want it back. So let's deal with the car first. Tell me about this car.
Okay, and she had come back from Alabama in around April, May of 2001. And they
How long had you been in Alabama?
About 3-4 months. So she calls me and asks me if I could possibly help her get a car, that she had a job and she needed transportation. So I called my banker and asked him if I could borrow some money to help my daughter buy a car. And he said, well, you already have a $1,500 note now. And I said, well, she agreed that if I could borrow the money, that she would also pay what I had owed, you know, just so she could have transportation.
I don't understand that. Run that by me again.
I already owed $1,500. I had a note myself. I asked him if I could borrow an additional $2,700. He said, well, he could combine the two together, and the payments would be $202.29 for 24 months.
Go ahead.
This year in maybe February, March, I don't know when, she had an accident in the car, and her and her boyfriend had gone to Oklahoma, and she left the Oldsmobile down there and abandoned it. So
up until that time, she had made the car payments?
Yes.
And how much was she making in the car payments?
$202.29.
But that also included your note.
Right.
How much were you paying to the bank on your note, Ms. Sanchez?
I think mine was $85 a month.
So she paid $1,105 on your note.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
And so when she never did go get the car back, when me and my husband went over, it was a $250 deductible. Plus I had to have new tires put on it. I had to have it all reconditioned.
And then what'd you do with it?
Well, I sold it on August 15th.
Okay, what did you sell it for?
For $2,200.
$2,200 for the car.
The payoff was 19 something.
Say $1,900.
Mm-hmm.
Now you had to put on new tires. And how much did you spend for new tires?
I spent $217. Then I had to have all new lug nuts on it. They were $32, $33.
How many payments did you make for her?
June, July. Because she had the accident.
$672 so
She
far
first said that
is
she
what you
did
owe
it.
your daughter. That's what you owe your daughter. She didn't owe you. You owe her. Now tell me about the furniture.
Okay, she has called me. She has been to my house already 4 times this year. She's always got an excuse that her and her boyfriend are fighting and all that. And the time before last that she called, she said that he said he loved her, but he couldn't stand her kids. And so she called me crying and asked me if she could come home. And she did. And she promised she wouldn't go back, but she did. So this last time that she came, I told her that I would help her any way that I could. And I had just refinanced my home, and I was going to have some extra money. And I told her, I said, that I will help you get set up in an apartment. I will pay the deposit. I will help you get the furniture that you need to set it up for you and the boys if you're willing to stay here in Gainesville and not go back to him. Oh, I'm not going back, Mom, I promise. So I bought her a sofa and love seat. There was a TV and VCR that was bought. I paid $150 down deposit on the apartment for her. I have all the stuff here.
And then she went back to the boyfriend?
Yes, she did.
So how long did she stay in the apartment that you were
She never moved in, Your Honor. She went and got the cashier's check and cashed it back in for the money.
Did you cash the check that your mother gave you for down payment on an apartment?
No, I put the deposit.
What cash did your mother give you for the apartment?
She didn't give me any cash. I put the deposit. I have the receipt. It's in my name and everything.
Did you
Yes,
give her money?
I wrote her a check, Your Honor, for $150 cash because they wouldn't take a personal check at the apartment complex. I gave her a $150 check. She went to the bank, and while she's in the bank, she filled it out into her name so that way she could get it back.
I believe your mother. I believe your mother. Don't lie. You know, I mean, so far, you're in pretty good shape. Your mother owes you $672. But don't lie to me, because that makes me feel stupid. Did your mother give you a check for $150?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Your Honor, I love my
Jump
daughter.
up. Just a minute. I got it. I got the drill. No, I got the drill. What other cash did you give her?
I bought the sofa and love seat for her.
Forget about the sofa and love seat. According to what you just testified to me, you said to her, I'm going to help you get set up, but you have to promise me you're not going to go back to this jerk. And she said to you at the moment, I promise you I'm never going to go back to this jerk.
Yes, sir.
The other part of what you would have to say in order to make that kind of an agreement is, that's binding is, and if you go back to him, you must return to me the furniture or the value of the furniture. Do you understand?
Well, I did say that at one time.
Well. But that's not what you told me. You told me what the conversation was with her. How old are your children?
7 and 5.
Now, Mr. Dreamboat, is he the father of either of these children?
No, ma'am.
What kind of work does he do?
Excuse me?
What word didn't you understand that I just said?
He doesn't work.
Does he not work because he is in some way physically challenged?
No, ma'am. He has we're trying to file for disability for him.
So he's in some way physically challenged?
He has to have surgery, but since he's older, he can't have tubes in his ear. He has drainage that cause real bad migraines.
How much older is he than you are?
He's 34.
A 34-year-old unemployed somebody who wants to put drains in his ears because he gets headaches and he can't work. Let me ask you this question. And you know, I've been around the block a couple of times. How many times have you called the police with regard to domestic violence in your home? Make sure that I get a correct answer.
1 time.
It'd take a lot for you to call the police to come to your house because...
No, ma'am.
Really not? You mean there was just a little yelling?
No, he yelled at me and I called the police because he was throwing things.
He was being violent around your 2 children who are how old? 5 and 7.
Yes, ma'am.
And he's not the father of those 2 children.
No, ma'am.
How many times have you had to move away because of him?
2 times.
How old are you?
25.
Do your 5 and 7-year-old sons have the same father?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Is he employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Does he have any communication with the children?
No, ma'am.
Is that by his choice?
Yes, ma'am.
Another idiot. So now you're 25, and have chosen 2 losers that I know about.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You want to be a bum magnet. That's your problem. Grow up.
And later today,
all the walls were torn out.
We had talked about it months before.
He said it was the spur of the moment, his exact words.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ann Sanchez says her daughter, Felicia Ruiz Mendoza, owes for an unpaid car loan. Ann says Felicia abandoned the vehicle out of state.
You can't do this anymore. I don't care if you never have a boyfriend the rest of your life. Either that, or take your two sons, get down on your knees, beg your mother, say, listen, I made a mistake. Could you please take care of your grandsons? But you're going from one place to another place to another place, going from one loser to another with two little boys who are the innocents. Why do you want to do that? I mean, you have a counterclaim that your mother assaulted you when you told her you were leaving again?
I didn't.
I don't even want to hear the story. I don't even want to hear the story. It's a good thing you got a hair left in your head. She doesn't want you, who she loves, or especially two innocent grandchildren, to keep going through this migrant lifestyle that you've selected for your children. It's terrible. You made car payments on the car for a year, $200 a month. That's part of your counterclaim. Where can you rent a car for less than $200 a month? Anywhere in the world?
No, ma'am.
Not as far as I know. So you don't get that back. The next part of your counterclaim is that your mother called Child Protective Services on you.
Yes, ma'am.
Probably with good cause. From what I hear and from my life's experience, probably with good cause. You called Child Protective Services?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and what did you tell them?
I told them that I was worried about my two grandsons, that they were living in a real bad area in town, and that both of them had a drinking problem, and they had the kids in the car going up and down the highway all the time. In October 2000, they were also called because the children were left in the house alone while she was out running around somewhere. She had left them in the care of a small little girl.
This 34-year-old with the tubes in his ears, he has a drinking problem?
Yes, they both do.
Both do.
All the time they're drinking. I mean, they don't buy cans, they buy the big quarts.
Your children here today in court?
No, ma'am.
Where are they?
They're at home.
With whom?
With Carlos.
Carlos isn't well enough to be employed, but he's well enough to watch your two sons?
Yes, ma'am.
Other than watching your two sons, does Carlos have any biological children of his own?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you know that? I knew that. So at least there's something about Carlos that works. How old are his children?
He, 12, 11, and 10, or 9.
So this bum isn't paying any child support either because he's got tubes in his ears. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you getting my drift?
Yes, ma'am.
You better grow up. You made two babies. They are innocent. You're guilty. If you brought them into the world, and you brought them into the world with somebody who's not interested in being their father, then it's your responsibility to be both mother and father to them. And you're not supposed to introduce them to another person who's a bum. You want to be a bum magnet. That's your problem. But you have two children. And if you want to be a bum magnet, then you have to do the right thing and you have to turn over custody of your children to your mother. I mean, how do you know that Carlos isn't home right now drinking a big brew and sitting around and watching television or doing whatever he's doing? How do you know that?
I don't.
You don't. You don't know whether he's hitting them. You don't know whether he's angry with them. You don't know whether he's locking them in a closet. You don't know whether he's drunk. You don't know what the hell he's doing. And that's better off for your children than being with their grandmother. Grow up! Your counterclaim's dismissed. So is your claim. And I want to tell you something. You have a responsibility. If you believe that your grandsons are being neglected, you have a responsibility to petition for custody in a family court. Now, you may not get it, but if you don't at least take that step and something happens to your grandsons, you're going to be sorry for the rest of your life. Do you understand? That's all. Bye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I thought the judge was fair. Like I said, it wasn't about money. It was about principle. How, you try to help your children and the way they stabbed you in the back, more or less.
There was no reason for her to bring me here. I didn't owe her anything.
Like Judge Judy said, he's a bum. He's a no-working alcoholic.
Reservations agent Rosemary Harris is suing her son's former common-law wife, 25-year-old customer service rep Rebecca Cardisco, for a series of unpaid loans. Rebecca says the money was meant for her children's Christmas gifts.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 193 on the calendar in the matter of Harris versus Cardisco.
Thank you, Bird.
Quite welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Miss Harris, is this your son?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the son that has two children with this lady?
Yes, ma'am.
It is your claim that the defendant owes you some money for a series of loans. She and your son, I assume, lived together or were together for a period of time because, according to what I've read, they have 2 children together.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are your grandchildren?
3 and 1. And John also has 2 stepsons, which were Rebecca's children.
Well, they were never married.
No, but he has custody of them.
He has custody of her 2 children that are not his biological children.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have custody of all 4 children. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
What is wrong with you? Shh, quiet.
We're going through custody right now.
No. I could understand when you have a custody dispute involving parents, 2 biological parents. Judge has to weigh what's in a child's best interest. But when a judge, unless the judge is educated on Jupiter, gives non-biological children to not even a step-parent, because the 2 of you were never married, to somebody else, there has to be something wrong with you. Do you have a drug problem, an alcohol problem?
I did, Your Honor. I did have a drug problem, and he doesn't have full custody of the children. It's going through social services.
Well, but who do they live with 5 days a week?
Right now, him.
Fine. So, and they go to school from his house?
Yes.
So right now he has custody?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you in a drug program?
Yes, I am.
Did you go into a residential program?
When I get back in town, I am.
So you are not now in a residential drug program?
No, but I'm in outpatient program right now.
How long were you using drugs?
For 3 years. After I had my daughter, I got in a car wreck and had a lot of back problems.
Oh, everybody has back problems. But not everybody becomes addicted to drugs. Okay. Tell me about the loans.
Okay. Basically met Becky in March of '98 when she was living with her another boyfriend in the same complex we did. They broke up and she needed a place to stay, and she finagled her way into my house and lived with us for a couple months, and then her and John started a relationship. Then the first grandchild was born in 9 of '99, and from that point on, it started being just a big con. Every couple months, every couple weeks, she needed this or needed that or needed help with this. Then they broke up for a while, and she had her own apartment and would hold the baby almost hostage. If you want to see your granddaughter, you'll give me this. She had a car wreck in 11 of '99, and that's when she got her back hurt and started taking Vicodin and Zoma and got addicted to them. And then she got pregnant again with my second granddaughter and had her
Also no testament to his good judgment.
Yes.
Okay.
And she was born in March of 2001.
Now, when she lived with you, she also lived with you with her other 2 children?
Yes, ma'am. I supported her and her 2 children then. And then, after the second baby was born, she really got deep into the drugs. She, at one point, had 8 drug felonies on her. 2 of them were where she used my name to get the drugs. And she was actually able to con her way out of those charges. She got something called drug court, where she gets to go in and talk to somebody once a week. And
at what point did they remove the children?
In May of this year.
Were either of the girls born with any sort of drugs in their system?
No, ma'am.
Were either of them tested?
No, ma'am, so there's no way to know for sure.
Where does your son live now, Miss Harris?
My son lives in Fort Collins with the children, and I travel there every day to help him with the children.
Stand up. Who takes care of the children?
Oh, I do. My mother helps.
You work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
Construction.
How do you support yourself?
Right now, I don't have a place to live. That's why when I go back, I'm going into treatment.
How do you expect her to give you any money?
In July of this year, Becky claimed she got a $50,000 insurance settlement.
Did
she
you?
went out and bought a new car.
No, I
Did
didn't.
you?
No, I didn't. My grandmother.
Did you get any money?
My grandmother gave me a couple thousand to get me a car so I could get a job.
And what'd you do with the car?
It broke down.
Did you ever tell Miss Harris that you got a settlement for something?
I did tell her I had gotten some money and that I would give her some. I did tell her that. But I didn't have any. And as far as...
You didn't have any what?
I didn't have any money.
So what you told her was a lie?
Yes, Your Honor.
How much money do you owe her?
I do owe her money. She did give me money for Christmas. I'm not going to say I don't owe her anything, because I do.
So I'm asking, how much do you owe her?
I don't know for sure. I mean,
how much does she owe you for Christmas?
For Christmas alone, $800. But prior to that, I gave her $500 for rent in November, $500 again rent for January and and I even had to take loans out from where I worked for me to survive because I was giving her money.
Did you expect to get that money back?
Yes,
Ms.
I
Harris,
did.
my question is, seriously, did you expect to get that money back from her? And I mean, you can get a judgment, but I'm going to ask you honestly.
Yes, ma'am.
Where's she going
Because
to get the
would,
money from?
she would actually sit there on the phone in front of me and be talking to the insurance guy. Actually sit there talking to him, but she actually wasn't talking to him. And she was having a conversation with nobody. Yes, I'll come down and get that check. At one point, I mean, several times she was supposed to pick up a check. She had John and I believing she got a $50,000 check. She was throwing money around. She went and got a $150 perm. She gave me a $100 bill one time to thank me for watching her kids because she'd been out of the house for almost 3 months. I actually thought she was getting a settlement. Then I find this letter in the house. She settled for next to nothing in November of 2000.
Let me see.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You didn't tell them that you were settling it. You just wanted the money right away.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, I know. But you're doing drugs. You need some money for drugs. Nonsense. Nonsense.
And later today,
If she's the co-signer on a note for your car, then you're supposed to pay for the car.
Right, which I pay her for.
Let's go slowly, Mr. Gaffney. My father didn't raise idiots.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rosemary Harris says her son's former common law wife, Rebecca Cardisco, owes for several unpaid loans. Rosemary claims Rebecca is a drug addict.
So you settled this accident claim despite the fact that you had an attorney. How much did you settle it for?
I think it was around $800. The attorney said that they couldn't get any more, and if they could, it was going to take a long while.
You didn't tell them that you were settling it. You just wanted the money right away.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah,
say
I know.
was settling.
That's what you did. You had a lawyer. They got fed up with you because you settled with this company after they had made some expenditures. But you're doing drugs. You need some money. You need some money for drugs. Look, as far as I can see, she owes you for 3 months' rent and $800 for Christmas. She doesn't know how much she owes you. That's $2,300. Has she, I assume, not given you any child support for the 3 children?
Not as of yet, no.
Have you worked in the last 5 years?
Yes, Your Honor, and he did receive child support last month.
How much?
I gave him $500.
From where?
Between him and his mother.
From where?
I got some money from my grandmother.
From your grandmother?
She gave me some money to give him for the children. He said that he needed it for the children. And I have a job.
Do you use drugs or do you sell them occasionally?
I don't do either. I've been clean.
Judge, there is a judgment now. She's supposed to pay $575 a month.
Good. That's what she's supposed to do. Somebody else is taking care of your children. In the meantime, she owes you $2,300. Miss Cardisco, I wish you good luck in residential treatment. If you want it to be successful, you have to stay there. You can't go in there for 6 weeks, or for 4 weeks, or for 12 weeks and say it's over. You have to stay there. What is it, a year or 18 months? Is that what they want you to stay?
60 days. 60 days.
Nonsense! Nonsense! Bert and I were in family court between us for more years than you're alive. And no residential program where you just go for 60 days is going to keep you off drugs permanently. You have to go into a drug-free environment for a long time. You've been on drugs for at least 3 years. Don't kid yourself. 60 days is not going to do it. 30 days is not going to do it. You have to do it. You have children. You made children. They need you. Do you get it? They need you. Stay with it. Find the right place and stay there. You're a young woman. How old?
25.
25. Got a lot of years ahead. They can be miserable. You can have a miserable life or you can have a happy life. You still have another 50 years of happiness or you have 50 years of misery. Choice is yours. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Becky's nothing but a con.
I do have problems and I have issues, but they're not any better than I am. Any better.
I'm the primary caregiver because Becky's a drug addict.
I never kept her grandchildren from her. I was afraid she was going to try to take off or do something with them. I didn't know what she's capable of. I mean, she just made me look like an idiot in there.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Leonard versus Norris. Step forward, please.
23-year-old bartender Amanda Leonard is suing her boyfriend's estranged wife, 22-year-old market research analyst Jennifer Norris, for harassment.
Miss Leonard, you are in the process of dating the defendant's present husband, soon to be her ex-husband, and it is your claim that the defendant has been harassing you. 30 seconds or less. Tell me how she's harassing you.
Yes, ma'am. It started a long time ago. After they broke up, she cheated on her husband and moved to Reno before we ever started dating. I have a tape, I have an audio tape of the very last message she left me after I had told her that I had already made a police report on her. She's
fine, I'll hear it. Why did you say such nasty things to her, Miss Norris?
And that's
I know I made these harassing calls, and I know it was wrong.
Why didn't you acknowledge that when you filed your answer in this case, Miss Norris?
I was very, very angry.
Why were you angry?
She was my friend, and I kept telling her, you know, I feel like Travis is cheating on me. I feel like something's going on with somebody else. And I never told her that I thought it was her because I didn't want to make her feel awkward, you know. And then it was her. And they had been together for, in my mind, I'm thinking about a year that they were messing around. And he kept telling me, no, I'm just selling drugs to her because he's, you know, they are drug addicts and stuff. And I was very angry because I thought she was my friend. And I realized that that was the wrong thing to do, was call and make those things.
When was the last time you made a harassing call to her?
I don't even remember the last time.
When was the last time?
This last message was made on the 31st, I believe, of September.
Of this year?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. I live in Reno, Nevada. I have no reason, you know, I live 3 states away.
Doesn't make any difference. Phones reach 3 states away.
I didn't call her. I mean, that's fine if, you know, that's what they're saying.
You have to stop.
I have to.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You have to stop.
Yes, ma'am.
It's finished.
Yes, I realize that.
Over.
I realize that.
What else?
She also threatened my family. She threatened my mother. She threatened all of my friends. She threatened to put antifreeze in my dog's food bowl. She threatened to key my car and slash my tires.
Did she do any of those things?
She didn't do any of those things.
Good, and she's not going to do any of those things, so she's not going to call you anymore. So I want you to be happy in your new life.
I am.
She's not going to bother you anymore. You don't bother her anymore. They're going to get a divorce when?
January 17th. But I have a question. We are not legally separated. There's no paperwork. And I can call over there to speak to my husband.
No,
I have
don't
the
call.
right to.
Listen to me. What do you want to talk to him about? Do you
A
have children?
divorce.
Just a minute. Do you have children together?
No.
Do you have a lawyer?
Yes, I do.
Then whatever you want to say to him, you say through your lawyer.
I just want the divorce done, and they won't help me.
Who won't help you?
They won't, like, go do anything. They won't go file the papers, nothing. And I'm like, I live in Nevada, so I have to wait. In January, it'll be 6 months I've been there, so I will have residency so I can get a divorce there.
Fine, Miss Norris, and that's what you do.
That's what I'm trying
Listen
to
to
do.
me. She would probably like you to have a divorce. I'm speaking. She would probably like you to have a divorce. He's not so anxious. He's not so anxious because she wants to get married, right?
Well, eventually, hopefully.
You say eventually, hopefully. Me? She would like to get married tomorrow.
Are you talking to me?
No, I'm not talking to you.
About me, though?
Sort of. Sort of. But I didn't require an answer because I wasn't talking to you. In any event, Miss Norris, in January, which is right around the corner, you are going to be able to get a divorce whether they are cooperative or not. Don't call him. That's holding on to something that doesn't exist anymore. Move on!
I have definitely moved on.
Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's threatened my family, my friends, myself.
I did threaten her. I threatened her family. I threatened her dogs. I threatened her car, everything.
I just don't want to live in fear that she'll come do something to me or my property or my family.
I was very angry.
I just want this divorce to get through and for her to leave us alone.
Real estate student Serena Catway is suing her sister, floral designer Suzanne Tyler, for the return of her car and an assault.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 290 on the calendar in the matter of Cantway versus Tyler. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Cantway, the defendant is your sister.
Yes.
According to your complaint, she has a car that belongs to you that she refuses to return. And at some point in a dispute over the use of that car, your sister assaulted you. Your sister says that the car is hers, you gave it to her, and that she never laid a hand on you. If anything, she was trying to protect you from yourself. So, Ms. Cantway, tell me how it came to be that your sister actually had possession of your car, because clearly the car is in her possession.
Yes. Last year, July 30th of last year, we decided to write up an agreement. I needed to borrow some money. I was having financial difficulties due to a personal situation, and we were going to write up the financial agreement that she was going to loan me the money and use the car. There were other circumstances behind it that she needed help.
Listen to me. Relax. You're going to have a turn to speak. You understand? So sometime last year, you were going to write up an agreement.
We did write up an agreement.
Can I see it, please? Now, when did you write up this agreement?
7/30/01.
And what happened? Signed this agreement that you would let her use your 1991 Toyota Tercel and keep it as collateral for $600 loan. You say the loan never came about?
No, the loan never came about.
So, what happened next?
Well, a couple of months went by. We had talked about it a little bit. The situation was good for her at that point because the car that she had been driving, she sold because it was unsafe. She did help me watch my kids, and it was a safe car for her to be able to drive around in. I did have another vehicle at the time.
Where had you gotten this car from?
My mother gave me this car.
When?
Back in 1995.
And you had another car?
At the time that my sister was using mine, yes.
What kind of car did you have?
1996 Camaro.
So what happened a year later?
Well, we had had a few discussions about the car. She was perfectly aware of the situation, that the car was to be used by her, not owned by her. She knew.
Don't tell me what she knew.
Okay, well, as far as my understanding, she knew.
Just don't tell me what she knew.
In February of the following year, I told her that my Camaro is going to have to go. I'm filing bankruptcy. Well, something happened to the Camaro prior to them repoing it on the bankruptcy anyway, but either way, it was going to go. I told her I have to have the vehicle back. We discussed being able to work out terms of sharing the vehicle so that neither one of us would be without a car.
Let me ask you this question, Ms. Cantway. There came a time when you signed over the pink slip to the car to your sister.
Yeah.
When was that?
I think that was probably about a month later, maybe.
A month later when? A month later in?
From the time that we signed the agreement.
So at the end of August?
Yes.
Now, could you explain to me why you signed over the pink slip to your sister?
Because at the time, I did not have a driver's license, and in order to insure the vehicle, it was extremely expensive. The insurance
What do you mean
company,
you didn't have a driver's license? You told me that you had a...
Yeah, I had a car, but that doesn't mean I drove it.
You told me that you had another car that you were driving.
I didn't drive it. I had another car.
Why weren't you driving it?
I didn't have a license.
Why not?
I made a mistake. Something I had to pay for. Has nothing to do with the situation of why I don't have my Tercel now.
If it has anything to do with drinking, it has to do with the situation, because your sister says part of the problem was you're drinking, driving at the same time, and that the altercation that you had that resulted in you say you getting assaulted had to do with her trying to protect you and your children. So what I'm asking you is, you said you'd made a mistake that had anything to do with a DUI that you received.
Yes, ma'am, it did have to do with a DUI.
Okay. So at the time that you gave her the pink slip for the car, that allowed her to put the car in her name.
For insurance purposes.
No. No. That's prima facie evidence of a gift. If you turn over the pink slip, it says that you are now the owner of a car.
I thought I was getting a loan.
But you didn't get the loan.
I didn't get a loan. I gave her time to give me the money. She's supposedly getting a settlement. I needed the money to pay my attorney. She never got a settlement. I never got any money. So I was without my vehicle and without a loan.
So are you telling me, but for the fact that this transaction never took place, you would have sold her your car for $600?
No, collateral.
Well, let us say that she never gave you the money.
Which never happened.
You never took your collateral back because you had already
I tried.
Right.
I tried.
Okay, now let's move on. Let's move on to this assault that you allege.
July 4th, my sister I knew was going to the Baptist church with my mother for the fireworks show, so I called and said that I was going to come and use the car in order to take my children to the fireworks. I received a phone call back that I am not allowed to use the car unless I ask nicely. So I drove over to the house to find out what was wrong, what was going on. We ended up getting into an argument about the agreement, about the car. She grabbed her keys, grabbed her purse, and went down the stairs to get into the vehicle. I sat in the passenger seat, and I turned it off. I said, you're going to...
No, just a minute. She ran downstairs, and you followed her.
I walked downstairs, followed her, yes.
Go ahead.
I turned off the ignition. As I did that, she reached over, grabbed my hand, scratched up my hand right here. I threw the keys out the window as kind of just a response to being grabbed. She started to claw at me. I threw up my hands, grabbed her wrists, and asked her to stop. What are you doing, is what I said.
Okay, Miss Tyler, I'll hear you.
When we did the agreement, I was the one that did that. I said, Serena, I want to give you something for the car. She said, look, I'll sign over the pink slip. I really don't want the money. But I went ahead and did that anyway.
No, that's not what happened, Miss Tyler. Just pay careful attention to me. That's not what happened. Not unless you can show me that the pink slip to the car was signed over on July 30th.
This was signed over on September the The 14th.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Right.
So, wasn't signed over on July 30th. Well, let's get your story together.
Okay. So anyway.
Now, let's start from the beginning so that you can hopefully get your story together properly. Your best defense is the truth. I want you to understand that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She got really belligerent with me and said something about my son who was brutally murdered 5 years ago. And she started punching on me, and then she threw the keys out the window.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Serena Catway says she used her car as collateral for a loan from her sister, Suzanne Tyler. Serena says the loan never happened and Suzanne won't return the car. Serena also claims Suzanne assaulted her.
You signed this piece of paper.
Right.
You signed it.
Right.
This piece of paper says you're getting this car as collateral towards a loan for $600 in which I will repay her at $25 a month. That's what this says.
Oh, that is not the one. I don't have a copy of that.
Really? Oh, show this
no,
to her. I'm
I don't.
sorry.
I don't.
Show that to
Your
her,
Honor.
please. Do you have that?
This is not the one, Serena.
Oh, wait, do you have...
No, I don't have a copy of this.
No, do you have a copy of any agreement that you signed?
No.
Okay, but you never signed that?
No.
Good. Can I have it, please?
That is the agreement, Your Honor.
Okay.
There is no other agreement.
I don't know that at all. Go ahead.
So, on September the 14th, my sister signed over the title of the car.
Tell me about the conversation that you had
I
with her.
did tell her I did want to give her some money for the car. This was before she signed this over. I said, I don't feel right about it. But she said, don't worry about it. Mom got the car for me, and it's like a family heirloom. I'm going to pass it down to you.
That's not true.
Okay. Can I see the pink slip?
I've never called the car a family heirloom.
Go ahead.
So then after this, I was always driving her kids around because she had 2 DUIs. So I was doing that for her. And then I think it was a few months after that, Serena had mentioned that she was behind on her Camaro payments. And so it was not too long after that that she totaled the Camaro. And
I didn't total the Camaro.
Yes, you did, Serena.
Ms. Tyler, just talk to me.
She totaled the Camaro. She didn't have any insurance. The car was going to be repossessed. So she hid the car in the garage for 3 weeks. And she went down and she got an insurance company to insure the car. When her boyfriend got back from Spain, they went and they told the insurance company that he was the one that was driving it, so she wouldn't get in trouble because she didn't have a license. So then
I was filing bankruptcy. I'm sorry, but I was going to lose the car. I did not wreck it.
Go ahead.
Ma'am, okay. Then after this, it was like a few weeks after that, her and her girlfriend came up to the house.
You're talking about the incident in July?
No,
July
ma'am.
4th?
She's talking.
This was in the spring of 2002 when she wrecked the Camaro.
Okay, she wrecked the Camaro.
Right, and it was like 2 weeks after that. I was sitting on the front porch, and her and her friend came over, and a friend of hers was outside talking to me, and Serena went in the house, and she said, you need to give the car back to Serena. And I said, what are you talking about?
And what did you do to her?
And I said,
Miss
what are you...
Cantway,
I'm sorry,
I don't
ma'am.
want to hear you.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
I said, what are you talking about? And she says, you need to give that car back to Serena. And I says, this is an agreement between me and Serena. It's really none of your business. And I asked her to leave. And then she got really belligerent with me and said something about my son who was brutally murdered 5 years ago. So I called the cops and asked her to please leave.
Who said that to you, the friend?
Yeah, her
Okay,
friend of
a
hers.
friend. Keep going.
So then I asked, Serena was there, and I came out. I said, Serena, what is... I called the cops because I said, you got to get this woman off my property.
Okay.
So then I told Serena, I says, what is the deal with the car?
Don't interrupt her.
I'm not interrupting.
She didn't
I was raising
interrupt.
my hand.
No. She didn't interrupt you while you were testifying.
Yes.
When she did once, I told her to be quiet, and she waited. That's what I'm telling you. Do you understand?
Yes.
I don't have to say it again. It irritates me to be irritated.
I'm sorry to irritate you.
Good.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Serena Catway says she used her car as collateral for a loan from her sister, Suzanne Tyler. Serena says the loan never happened and Suzanne won't return the car. Serena also claims Suzanne assaulted her.
Keep going.
So then I confronted Serena because she was there, and I said, what is the deal with the car? What is this about this contract that you're talking about? And she says, well, I was using that against Scott in case he wanted to get his hands on the car. And I'm going, what are you talking about? And I want the car back after you get your settlement. And I'm thinking, and I told Serena, I says, well, Serena, I don't know why you...
What settlement, Ms. Tyler, is she talking about?
Because I have a workman's comp settlement. I broke my neck, and I'm still recovering from that.
Would you tell me, please, what happened on the 4th of July of 2002?
Yes, Serena wanted to borrow the car, and she had borrowed the car 5 days in a row because I know she was out of vehicle, and I was trying to do the nice thing for her.
And you had your driver's license back at that time?
Oh, yes, she did get it back, yeah. So, but during that week, she had, I know this for a fact because she left the house and she drove the car twice drunk, and she let somebody else drive the car. So, and during that evening on the 3rd, I was sitting on the porch with family members. They were concerned. They said, you're going to have to not let Serena drive the car. So I said, well, I know this is going to be a problem. So the next day when she asked me to use the car, I said, honey, I got errands to run. I said, I'll try to arrange a ride for you, and we'll try to see what we can work out. Well, then she came over shortly after our conversation on the phone, extremely upset with me, yelling and screaming. I said, Serena, quit yelling at me. And then she brought up the contract, the $600. She kept it up, and I said, I've got to get away from here. So I grabbed my keys, and I began to go down the stairs. She followed me. She got in the car. She grabbed the keys. We were like this, and she started punching on me, and then she threw the keys out the window. And then when I waited, I had a second set of keys. When she went back upstairs, I got in the car, rolled the windows, and I took off, and I went to my cousin's house. And I left town. I left town the following week because I got tired of the abuse, and I moved to Napa.
Ms. Cantway, I'm certainly hearing two diverse stories.
I see that, yeah.
My job is made very easy by the fact that neither of you dispute the fact that you signed over the pink slip to this car, not conditionally, not as a lien holder, but for all purposes to your sister. If you had signed it over to her and been a lien holder for $600, because that was the condition of giving it to her, that she would pay you $600 or give you $600, there would have been a lien on the car for $600.
Yeah.
But you did not. You signed it over so that she is now the owner of that car.
Yep.
So your lawsuit with regard to the return of the car is dismissed. With regard to the assault, since I find that this was her car and you had absolutely no right to get into her car, to pull the keys out of the ignition, to stop the car.
Your Honor.
I'm speaking. She says it's because you had either let someone else drive the car or
nobody else
family
drove the
I'm
car.
speaking, or people told her that you were driving the car while you were intoxicated. And if it's her car in her name, she is liable for anything that happens to the car. In any event, you had no right to get into the car, pull the ignition keys out, toss them out, and if she scratched your hand at the time that you were struggling over the car keys, she has a right to do that.
Yes.
Because it's her car.
I had driven the car drunk, Your Honor.
No, it doesn't make any difference.
I took the dog to the vet to be put down, and I picked his daughter up from school.
Let's say you weren't driving the car drunk. You still have absolutely no right to get into her car and touch her property, and she has the right to use whatever force is necessary to get your hands off the ignition keys. And if she scratched your hand while she was doing it, she scratched your hand. That's it. I mean, it's certainly very sad
She neglected to mention to you what she did to the other girl who was supposedly so belligerent at her house. The other girl mentioned, why don't you give the vehicle back to Serena? It is her car. You know what she did to that girl? She grabbed her by the bottom of her neck and scratched her all the way up to her ears.
Now, if this person that you brought to the house said something to her about her child who was murdered in the course
they
of
said nothing about that.
You were inside. You were inside. You were not outside.
I
when
was
that
outside.
No, I don't. Ms. Cantway,
the porch.
I don't
right
believe
there.
a whole lot of what you're telling me. What I do believe is that you gave your sister your car because you had another car. You had no use to have for this second car. You had a newer car.
I wish
the
I was
newer.
that
I'm
rich.
speaking. The newer car got repossessed. You said, I want my car back. She said, I'm not giving you your car back. She said, but I'll share it with you. I'll share it with you. You use it when you need it, and I'll use it when I need it. And then you had an argument.
No.
And you want a court to resolve it as a family dispute. I don't intend to do that. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's got a lot of animosity to me. and it really hurts my feelings, and I wish it didn't have to come to this.
I just found out the blood's not thicker than water.
She was demanding and wanted it back, and it wasn't just going to work out that way for her this time.
According to her, I'm the spoiled one that gets her way all the time. Well, obviously not, huh?
Maybe somewhere down the road we can settle it.
Precious Stewart is suing hairstylist Karani Thomas for damages from a wig installation.
Ms. Stewart, you're complaining that the defendant who tried to restyle or reinstall a wig that you had recently purchased did a terrible job. And in addition to doing a terrible job, she tried to fix it, and then she didn't return it to you.
Exactly.
So you want the cost of the wig.
And the install.
And what?
And the install.
And the $200 that
yes,
you
ma'am.
charge you for the installation of the wig. Is that what they call it, installation?
Yes, ma'am.
Usually refer to furniture as an installation. I never knew that they referred to a wig as installation. Okay, you purchased this wig when?
I purchased a wig on February 12th.
Of what year?
2022.
Can I see the receipt?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you paid $697 for it?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you bought wigs from this particular install the wig that you purchased?
The first time that I installed it was March 3rd.
What did you do with it between the 12th and the 3rd?
You said between the 12th?
12th of February and March 3rd.
Well, she had it.
Who had it?
The lady.
The other lady?
Yes.
What did she do with it?
She just held it in because she installed it for me the first time.
Not understanding me. You purchased it on February 12th?
Yes.
Did you use it or did you not use it between February 12th and March? Didn't use it. So the first time it was installed was March 3rd?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have other wigs?
Yes, ma'am.
That you use regularly? The first time it was installed, according to you, it didn't look right. And you thereafter contacted the defendant. Had you ever used her services before?
No, each other over social media. So I was, watching her do hair and post her videos and stuff. So that's how
So you contacted her on what date to do a reinstall?
I believe it was...
It was
like March. No, it wasn't.
In the month of March?
Yes.
The same month that you had it initially installed?
It was the end of March.
But the same month?
Yes.
And you went to her home? Is that where she operates?
Yes,
I gather that you were in her home.
At the time, yes. She used to work inside a studio.
What I read in your complaint was when you left, you noticed that the installation had left certain, according to you, bald spots in the netting.
Yes, ma'am.
And you contacted the defendant?
Right away.
Do you remember that call, Ms. Thomas? You had a dissatisfied customer who wanted her money back.
Right.
What did you do with the wig? Because you now had the wig.
Right. I reconstructed the wig. So after we
What did you do with it?
Precious Stewart claims hairstylist Karani Thomas did not properly install her wig and never returned it.
Okay. Do you remember that call, Ms. Thomas?
Yes, I do.
Tell me what she said to you when she called.
She said that specifically there were spots or gaps that she needed to be fixed. So I told her that she can come back the next day and we would fix whatever spots because she didn't send me a picture. So I just told her, go ahead, come back the next day.
But she did, in fact, pay you the $200
Yes.
for installing the wig.
Her coming back the next day wasn't an extra charge.
Did she come back the next day?
No.
Do you know why?
She did not come back at the time that she was supposed to because she said that her carpets were getting clean and she forgot. I also...
Thank you. Okay, so it looks as if the day that you had set to go there, you kept stalling it because you had workmen in your house.
Yeah,
Is that right?
I have a
that's a yes.
I had a maintenance man.
Yeah, that's yes. You had workmen in the house. She said, come. You had workmen in the house. And then you asked to come when her baby was sleeping. And she said, don't come when my baby is sleeping because the dogs will bark and wake up the baby.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's the only page that I have here.
Yes, Your Honor.
So when did she come back?
Afterward, that same night, I have another paper. She didn't come back, and then she sent me this text message letting me know that she got in contact with another hairstylist that's apparently a friend of hers, saying that...
No, I can read.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so what you say in this text is that You showed the wig to somebody else.
Yes, Your Honor.
And they told you that it couldn't be fixed because too much was plucked. And then you say, I hate this because you're a very sweet person, very talented. I'm not sure how we got here. I'm going to proceed with removing the wig from my head. I'll bring it to you so you can see if there's any saving possible. Thank you and sorry for the inconvenience. When did you do that?
The same day.
Okay, so you brought it to her.
No, I didn't bring it to her. I told her that the same day that I...
No, when did you bring it to her?
I brought it to her the next day.
Okay, so that was still the end of March, or was that the beginning of April?
I believe it was still the end of March.
It was March 26th.
So you brought it to her, and what happened?
I brought it to her. She said that she would try to fix it. She then proceeded trying to fix it. She sent me photos of what she tried to do, which wasn't really much of anything because it still looked bald, as well as what it looked like the next morning. Looked like it was disintegrating off my head. That's a proper install. The next morning, a few hours.
Just looking.
Doesn't do that.
Okay. Okay. I see them. Would you show these to the defendant, please?
She's here.
Yes, I have them.
You have them?
She sent that to my phone.
Okay, great. I'll take them back now. Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome, Judge.
Okay. So you had a dissatisfied customer who wanted her money back.
Right.
What did you do with the wig? Because you now had the wig.
Right. I reconstructed the wig. So after we
What did you do with it?
She told me she sold it. Sorry.
I didn't ask you anything.
Sorry.
What did you do with the wig?
It had been over 2 months since we had in contact with each other. I just got rid of it.
How did you get rid of it?
I threw it away.
Why?
Because I had spent money that went to waste and I replaced it. I couldn't do anything with it.
What do you mean replaced it?
I replaced the frontal that she said I made bald. So I spent my own money because I wouldn't do another install on her head.
May I see those? I assume those text messages go into April and May.
Yes.
Okay. And so we're not that far away. And I would assume that the wig doesn't take up that much room in your house.
Well, she didn't come back until June.
It doesn't matter.
With the police.
What does that matter?
She said that she didn't want it anymore.
Good morning, Boo. I will be home tomorrow. Okay, I'll get back to you, take pictures of well. Okay. Well, in any event, you had no right to either give it away, sell it, throw it away until this matter was resolved. So you owe her first the $600.
Her saying that she didn't want it anymore?
I never said I didn't want it, though.
But you did. I have proof of that.
You said I did. I said I didn't want it.
Are you talking to each other? If you talk to each other, then I dismiss your case.
Sorry.
Do you understand?
Sorry.
Bottom line. So if you have proof that she said to you, you can discard the wig, then I'll say, I don't want that wig anymore. You owe me for the wig because you ruined it. That's a different story than I don't want it anymore.
Okay. Can I?
Do you understand?
Can I find that?
Absolutely.
I don't know if what I'm trying to find is in the papers that you have or here. So I'm sorry if I'm taking long. I'm reading.
I don't see anything in the papers that I have here that says you can get rid of it.
Okay, I do. I have it. Well, it doesn't say get rid of it, but it does say you can keep the wig and give me my $700 then.
Oh, yeah. I can understand that. So did you give her money? You kept it?
No.
You kept it?
I did not.
Did you give her money?
No, I did not.
Well, then you owe her $600.
Court is adjourned.
I think she made the right decision.
I feel like the judge made the wrong decision.
I was trying to let things die down, maybe a civil person.
We both came to an agreement that I would reconstruct the unit.
It would have been like, hey, it doesn't belong to me, let me just give it back.
The problem was that she wouldn't come back and pick it up because I wouldn't install her hair again.
Just give me my wig back. And she told me no.
I felt I didn't owe her any money.
I don't got the wig, but I'm getting my money back.
Simple,
Yeah.
easy. You can't throw away somebody's property.
Yep.
The only thing that I was amazed at in the complaint, Sarah, is that she sat there for 5.5 hours while she had this wig installed.
Yeah. Beauty is pain.
I cannot imagine sitting someplace 5.5 hours without leaving with a baby.
And airfare.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2040, Harvey versus Kelly.
Thank you. Ms. Harvey, according to what you wrote in your complaint, you've known Mr. Kelly since college?
Yes.
And you dated in college?
Yes.
That was more than 30 years ago.
Yes.
And according to Mr. Kelly, you broke up with him in
Yes.
college. In what year was that?
Oh, gosh. That was what?
Do you remember?
92, I believe, Your Honor.
And then somehow you reconnected. I assume you both had lives in between 1992 and 2022. When did you reconnect?
In April of 2021.
How?
Well, he was looking for me, so...
He was looking for you?
He emailed my best friend. He emailed her business and asked her, well, gave her his number and
said-
asked that I call him.
So far correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you were interested in seeing her again. In that 30-year period, did either of you have other people in your lives, have children, marry?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Okay, how long were you married?
I was married for 10 years.
Have any kids?
Yes, 2 kids.
And you, sir?
11 years. And
How many children?
One child, yes.
Both divorced?
Yes.
Okay, that could have made it.
I did.
And that was in April of 2021?
Yes.
Where did you live at the time?
Detroit, Michigan.
And you, sir?
Colton, California.
When was the first time you actually saw each other?
April of 2021.
You live in Michigan.
Yes.
But you have a child who lives in California.
I do.
How old is that child?
21.
Male or female?
Male.
And where does he live now?
With his dad.
When you come down to see him, where do you stay?
In the past, sometimes I would stay with his dad, and sometimes I would stay in a hotel.
So when you visited him, you either stayed with his father or your ex-husband?
Yes.
Or stayed in a hotel?
Yes.
Depending upon the circumstance. Most of the time, did you stay at the house with his father, or most of the time in a hotel?
Most of the time, in the past, I stayed in the house with his father.
And is this his father's only child as well?
We have 2 children together.
2 children.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the other child?
She's in Chicago, Illinois.
How old is she?
26.
So you see her less frequently than you see your son?
I probably see them about the same.
It was an exclusive relationship? You did not?
At first, yes, I did, Your Honor.
And then what happened?
The last time I saw her was in Detroit. And when I returned from Detroit, the girl that I was seeing at the time had disappeared.
You mean the girl that you were seeing prior to seeing her?
Right, exactly. And I thought the relationship was over. She went deep into Mexico, and I hadn't heard from her. She had to go for some family business, and then she resurfaced once I came back. And
Once you came back from California on your last trip?
once I came back from Detroit.
From Detroit?
Spending time with her.
To
Yeah.
California.
And so we started talking again, and I didn't get in contact with her. She was trying to contact me, and so
So
I
you
let
stopped answering her calls?
No, not really. I called her, and I let her know that, the girl resurfaced and that I didn't think it was going to be able to work out between me and her. And that's when the problem came along.
The problems with regard to money?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what your lawsuit is about. So you broke up with her, and at that time, according to you, you had unpaid advances to him for an airline ticket and car repairs and some small amount of money for a new grandchild that he had, some baby items. So let's start with the plane ticket. When was who paid for the airfare? Because he would drive most of the time.
He drove one time. I flew, and this was the only time that he said he would pay for the ticket. I paid the other time.
Okay, well, tell me about his discussion with you of paying for this ticket.
Sure.
in May.
So he wanted me to come for his birthday.
When is your birthday?
In June, Your Honor.
And I told him that I was looking for tickets.
He said, I want you to come for my birthday.
Yes.
No, tell me what he said.
He said...
Tell me what he said. No, don't look over there. Look over here.
He said, I'm going to fly my boo thing out.
Okay. And
later, I looked for tickets, and he said, oh, I was going to give you $500.
Okay. And you purchased the ticket, and that was in May of what year?
That was in May of 2021. We agreed that I would put the ticket on my credit card.
And when you got to his home in California, did he give you the $500?
He did not give me the $500.
When did you ask him for it again?
I didn't ask him for it while I was there.
And then?
And then when I was back home first, and he...
No, I'm talking about the airline ticket.
Right. Then he said, I need to give that money to you this week, right? And I told him I had made a payment on a credit card and he could have more time. And so he said he would take care of it. He said, I'll take care of it when I'm there the 1st of August.
Did he come the 1st of August?
He came in August, yes.
Okay, and what happened in August?
He came in August. We was there. We did not have any discussion about money until he told me that his account was compromised and somebody owed him some money and didn't give him the money. And so that's when he asked for the other loan amount.
For the other amount of money? You mean he was in Michigan when he asked for more money?
Yes.
Well, when he asked for any money. You had never given him money before.
Correct.
Tell me about it.
So he sent me a text message, and he asked if I could go to the credit union and take out a loan for him.
I'd like to see that.
Sure.
Please, if it was in a text message. Thank you. Mr. Kelly.
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you check with your credit union and see if you could get a personal loan for $1,000 and I can make payments on it because I don't even have my gas money to get out here. If you can.
$1,500.
$1,500, excuse me. $1,500.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, what do you think that meant? Hey, baby, you think you can make that loan and even $2,000?
No, I'm saying the money wasn't a problem until I dumped her.
I don't care if it was a problem a lot. You said it was a loan.
Exactly.
Pay careful attention. If you want a dog that guarantees you practically a nice disposition, buy a golden doodle, not a wolf.
Devonna Harvey says her ex-boyfriend, Ted Kelly Jr., owes for an unpaid loan and airfare.
Well, what do you think that meant?
That she was going to give me the money. But the reason the car was having the problems is because I drove it out there to see her.
No, it's not what this says at all.
Well, a couple days later.
Shh.
Sure.
That's not what this says at all. It says I'm in 1,500. That would be perfect.
Right. I didn't know that we were keeping tabs on things because I've spent money on her and never asked her for anything.
It's not a question of spending money, sir. Spending money on her is chivalrous.
She came to see me on my birthday, but I bought her gifts. And I took her to Mexico for 4 days.
7 years of college and law school. I took the bar exam. I've been a judge for over 40 years. You think I'm going to listen to you buying her a hamburger? That's not what this is about, sir.
It wasn't a hamburger.
Or a present. That's what people do. You told me, sir, that you were in an exclusive relationship until your girlfriend from Mexico resurfaced. That's what you told me. So buying each other presents is not an issue. Did you tell her?
Just like the plane tickets. I went to see her in college, and I didn't try to charge her for the plane ticket. She came to see me, and we never had that issue.
Are you talking about when you were in college?
No, I'm talking about the plane tickets. We never had an issue with me having to pay a plane ticket for her to come and see me.
I know that, but she said this one was different. This one ticket, not all the others when you visited. This one ticket, you said you wanted her to come for your birthday, and you said you would pay for the ticket.
She wanted to come, Your Honor. It wasn't I just wanted.
She said you said to her, I want you to come for my birthday. I'll pay for the ticket.
Because she had the time that she could go. Yes, probably so.
Okay. How much was the airline ticket?
$500.
Show me. $446.80.
And with bags, it was $500.
I don't care about the bags. Okay. Now, I want you to tell me about these baby items. That's the last thing on your menu.
But we didn't finish with the other.
We finished with it.
But he asked me for an additional $500 after that $1,500. 2 days later, I have that here too.
I'd like to see it, please. On Friday, August 20th, said, hey, baby, I had a question. Do you think you can make that loan and even $2,000? Because I need to get a few things done on the car. And she says, yes, but I can't get to the bank today. I can hit the ATM on my way home. Okay, that's fine.
Right. It wasn't a problem until I dumped her.
I don't care if it was a problem a lot. You said it was a loan.
Exactly. And when I told her I'd pay her back, she didn't hear from me, so then now we're here.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's a lot of mumbo-jumbo gibberish. Okay, $2446.88. Now tell me about the baby items.
So he asked me...
When?
Text message, that was...
When?
In July 8th, I'm sorry.
So this was before you loaned him the other money?
Yeah.
Okay, so in July...
He asked me, did I have Cash App? And I told him I did, because I thought, and I gave him my Cash App handle because I thought he was trying to pay me the airline ticket. But he said, no, the problem was that he didn't have Cash App, and he was trying to get his son's baby's mother some money and wanted to know if I could send it for him because I had Cash App.
How much money did he need for his son's
There were
girlfriend?
2 occasions. One was $60 and one was $50.
Do you recall that, Mr. Kelly?
I don't recall her not getting the money for that. I didn't do it because he wasn't in the area where I can give it to him, and I didn't have Cash App, and she sent it on the Cash App, but I gave her the cash for that.
And that was in July?
Yes, while I was still there.
He never gave me any cash.
I don't think so either, because then you borrowed all this money the next month. Yes, you lived together?
No.
Okay, well, it wasn't the ending that perhaps you all envisioned, but you borrowed this money from her, sir, and you have to return it. $25.56, judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Obviously, I'm happy.
Well, technically, yeah, it was a loan,
Judge saw through what he was trying to say. I don't know what he was trying to say.
but I spent money on her, and I never kept tabs on it.
Oh my gosh, he just asked me for a lot of money.
I wasn't in love with her, and somebody else came back from the past.
No, I just want my money, and I told him that. I just want my money.
So I'm curious, Judge, the ratio of cases that you've seen of women loaning men money versus the other way around, men loaning women, their girlfriends, money.
I think I would have to go with 80-20.
I would agree.
This woman has somebody who's reasonable. He, on the other hand, she was okay until his girlfriend from Mexico resurfaced, and he broke up with her. I think he probably was hurt all the years from college that she broke up with him, because he talks about it.
Report.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 2074, Marshall versus Fugate.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. and Mrs. Marshall, you live across the street from Mr. Fugate and his mother.
Yes.
How long have you lived in your house?
22 years.
And Mr. Fugate, how long have you lived in your house?
Your Honor, my mom has lived in the house far longer than I have. She's lived in it since 2008. I moved in 2016.
Mr. and Mrs. Marshall, this problem that I'm going to try to rectify today deals with parking space.
Yes.
And the parking space is a public parking space, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
And it's on the street, and the public parking space happens to be in front of your home.
Yes, ma'am.
You live across the street.
Yes, ma'am.
And the case involves acrimony that has developed because you, Mr. Fugate, would like to keep that spot that's in front of your home free for your mother, who you say for health reasons it would be more convenient for her to park right in front of the house.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. and Mrs. Marshall sometimes or always park in that spot. That's what the problem is.
Yes.
Okay. And I assume you're going to speak for your husband for now?
I can, yes.
Do you want her to talk for you?
It's fine.
He learns his lessons well. Oh, that's very good. Perfect.
I can speak for myself.
Perfect.
If she need to, she can.
Perfect. You've been living there a long time. Did you have any trouble with the Fugate family about this parking space between 2008 and 2016?
No.
So before the son moved in, you had no problem?
That's right.
Had you ever, just a second, had you ever had discussions with Mrs. Fugate about parking in that spot before he came?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, Mrs. Fugate, did you understand what I said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I want you to be very careful in your answer to me.
Yes, ma'am.
You've lived there for a long time.
Yes,
your son didn't move in until 2016. Before your son moved in, did you ever have any communication with Mr. and Mrs. Marshall about parking in front of your house? Tell me, what changed after her son moved in?
Okay, where I park at is actually across the street from the Fugates. It's right by my driveway, and I park my Toyota Avalon right beside my driveway, which is the parking spot that Mr. Fugate is causing the problems over.
So it's the parking spot is in front of your house?
No, it's not in front of my house. It's beside my driveway.
But on your side of the house?
That's
on your
correct.
side of the street?
Yes. Correct.
Do they have a parking space in front of their house on their side of the street?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you ever park there?
I have. When they took the parking space I usually park in, I did park across the street.
Okay, so occasionally, either Mr. Fugate, his mother, parks on your side of the street, on a public street, and you'll park in front of their house.
Correct.
Okay, I got it. Okay, so let me tell you all this. We're going to finish part of the case right now. Too bad. You can park wherever you want on a public street, because there are other visitors that come, I assume, for people who live on the block, that they take up parking spaces, and occasionally there aren't other parking spaces. You know, there's no question you would prefer to park on your side of the street, and you would prefer to park on your side of the street. If you can't, you can't. Mr. Fugate, I'm just telling you, just so that you know, you have no right to a public parking space.
Yes, I understand that, Your Honor. I'm not the one that needs to be told that, though.
You have no right to a public parking space.
Yes, ma'am.
Where do you live, in what state?
Ohio, Cincinnati.
Okay, I've actually been to Cincinnati frequently, but I am certain that there is no regulation in Ohio or any city or town thereof that says, well, you sort of had first dibs on the parking space on the public street that's in front of your house. That's ridiculous.
The best that Cincinnati has, Your Honor.
Each other. Did either of you ever call the police and say a car has been there for more than 3 days?
Yes, Your Honor.
Who did?
I did, Your Honor.
Why?
Because the spot in question that's directly across the street is actually, it's hindering to the entire flow of the neighborhood and where everybody parks on the street. I served 10 years Army, and I fought for people.
Listen, I don't care if you're a good person, if you're not a good person, if you're a do-gooder, if you're not a do-gooder. It's a public street. And if what you're suggesting to me is they should be nice, it's an older person and they shouldn't park in that spot, what I'm telling you is I wouldn't start up with anybody by calling the police on a car that especially a car that I knew. I know that it's my neighbor's car. They've been living there for 22 years, relatively peacefully. Relatively peaceful.
It hasn't really been peaceful, Your Honor.
You moved there.
Yes, I did.
They were living there a decade before you moved there. You.
Yes, ma'am.
If it wasn't peaceful, there are options. You're a free person. But I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I cannot imagine my calling the police on a neighbor's car that was parked in the street. Well, that created problems. Okay, so I see where we're going. We're going to get to this case. Reimbursement for insurance deductible, that's one thing, because you claim that Mr. Fugate damaged your car.
Yes, ma'am.
On what date?
That was on June the 26th.
Of this year?
Of 21, I'm sorry.
Okay. Do you have any video evidence of the damage to your car?
No, ma'am. All I have is a picture.
Tell me how he damaged the car. With what did he damage the car?
Okay. He damaged the car with his hand. I'm parking the car.
You mean in front of?
In front of Mrs. Fugate's home.
So on her side of the street?
Yes, ma'am. I exit the car. Mr. Fugate is being erratic.
No, don't tell me what your perception of. Tell me what he did.
He was beating the hood of the car.
He came up to the car and was hitting the top of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now I'll see the car and the police report. See the dent, and that's the report says. Mr. Fugate told the police in his narrative that this incident occurred, there was a disagreement over the parking space, and that you struck him with the car, causing minor injury. Okay, because you have a cross complaint for that.
That is correct.
Okay, so that's a simple. June 26th, I see the car was damaged. There's no question it was damaged by somebody pounding on the hood, and I assume that was you.
Ma'am, that's wrong. I did not pound on the hood.
Well, then tell me, Mr. Fugate, how these dents occurred, just the way they look, on the hood of the car.
Your Honor, there is a I have the 911 audio calls of the night as well as the police report. And I also drew up a diagram where she was originally parked that explains everything. But,
Okay, so I'd like to see that. Okay.
Ma'am, if I could approach the diagram.
Absolutely. June 26th.
On June 26th, I was talking to my parents when the marshals came home. My car was parked right here. Okay, they came home, they blocked their own driveway and parked right up on top of my bumper.
Just a second.
I
Just a second. So you, Mr. Fugate, were parked on a public street where you could park on their side of the street, not your side of the street, okay?
Yes, sir.
And they came up blocking their own driveway.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Did you see them? Were you in the house watching?
No, I was on my parents' porch.
Okay. So now you're on your parents' porch. They're in their car, and they blocked their own driveway.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Not a big
So-
ordeal, right?
Not any of your business.
Right. It wasn't, like I said, wasn't a problem to me.
Wasn't any of your business.
Exactly. So
Go ahead.
anyway, I'm talking to my parents on the phone. They're just getting done working. I can hear that the marshals are upset about where I'm parked at on a public street. And I went out to save my parents' spot because I could hear her say, I'm going to teach him a lesson.
So, Mr. Fugate, now, is what you're telling me that car where you're standing in, you went out to make it so that they couldn't block them from moving in front of your house because your car was parked on their side of the street?
No, no, Your Honor. No, you got
Is
that wrong.
is that red car yours?
The red car is mine.
It's mine.
Yes, Your Honor.
Just to say, the red car is yours. Listen, I'm not a moron.
I know that.
The white car is the space that you wanted to save for your parents.
Yes, Your Honor. They were on their way home. I was talking
Who
to
gives
them.
a rat's behind where they were? Now you have
This
both
whole
spots.
area was clear, and there is a crossing road that comes all the way through here, and they could have parked.
Who made you the monitor of public parking?
No one.
Who do you think you are to be the monitor of public parking?
Sherry and Jeffrey Marshall claim their neighbors, Joseph and Jennifer Fugate, owe for an insurance deductible and filing a false police report. Joseph and Jennifer are countersuing for medical bills from an assault.
Now, you went out on a public street to go like this to save a parking space for your parents.
Yes,
that you had no right to do. Let me just understand this. You had no right to go out there. You parked on their side of the street, and then you went outside to save the spot because your parents were on their way home.
Yeah,
Just a second. You have no right to do that. Zero. Don't you understand that?
No, actually, I don't understand that, Your Honor. How do I not have a right to save a spot?
You do not have a right to
my
save a
elderly
public
parents?
Just a second. You don't have that right because I'm here to tell you. You don't have a right to save a spot on a public street by standing in the street like this. Don't park here.
And I'm
you
not
have
like this.
I don't care whether you were hopping on one foot and chewing gum. You don't have the right to save a spot, and it makes it twice as obnoxious because you parked on their side of the street. Now, if there was a spot in front of their house that they could park in and they said, no, I'm going to park in front of the defendant's house, I could say, you know what? That's nasty.
Well, that's
Just that's
thing,
nasty.
Your Honor.
Now you have
this
both
whole
spots.
area was clear, okay? And there is a crossing road that comes all the way through here, and they could have parked.
Who made you the monitor of public parking?
No one.
Who do you think you are to be the monitor of public parking? To save the spot, she comes around to park there, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me what happened.
Well, she came around to park there, and then she hit me with her car.
Just a second. She came around to park there, and you were standing in the street.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, pay careful attention. Where did she hit you in the car before you moved?
She hit me in the knee.
In the knee. And so you jumped out of the way. No.
I fell on her car. I guess I was talking on the phone, and when she hit me in the knee, I fell on her car.
Baloney. That's not what this is. What was the damage to your car?
The damage.
That's baloney. That didn't happen because your elbow went on her car. Sir, if she hit you on the knee, she hit you on the knee with the front of her car, which is possible. By the way, You have medical records to show me?
I did.
I'd like to see them. The record should reflect that they closed this case, made no arrests in this case, and probably told everybody to behave themselves, which is what I'm doing.
I apologize.
Okay. What is this?
That is the ambulance bill for...
I want to see a medical record. I don't care if you went in an ambulance. I want to see what the doctor reported about your injury. Where is that?
I was unable to get that.
Well, that's too bad. Then I'm not interested in this. That's nonsense. Okay, how much did it cost to fix your car?
Here we are. Thank you.
And you had a $500 deductible?
Yes, ma'am.
$500 so far for the plaintiff. The counterclaim that talks about medical bills for this is dismissed. Okay, filing a false police report.
Yes, ma'am.
And the false police report you're talking about is what?
Mrs. Fieldgate initiated a confrontation with me.
When?
December the 22nd. I'm on my way to my vehicle. Mrs. Fieldgate is parked maybe like 10 feet behind me.
Put up the diagram again, please. Okay, just go over to the board. This is a different date, but I just want you to show me where she was and where you were.
Okay. Mrs. Fieldgate here.
In front of her house?
Correct.
Okay, so you're both on the same side of the street, which is the defendant's side of the street. You're parked across the street from your house.
That's correct.
Got it. Go ahead.
Okay.
What happened?
And Mrs. Fieldgate, she comes out of her car. She's walking towards me. She's upset. She's yelling. And I don't remember all of the words that was about parking. She was telling me I couldn't park where I was parked at. She's yelling. She's screaming. I'm trying to reason with her.
Could you step back there?
Yes. I'm trying to reason with Miss Fieldgate. I'm telling her it's a public street and I can park there. She's yelling and screaming and telling me that I can't. We're standing in front of one another. She's still yelling and screaming. I'm trying to reason with her. Next thing I know, she hits me on the hand. My reflex, I pushed her back. Next thing I know, she's still standing after I pushed. Next thing I know, I guess she thought about it, and then she made herself fall on the ground.
Well, I don't know whether she did or not. Somebody said with regard to this that there's a video of this. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. It was dismissed in court. It wasn't showed in court.
I don't care whether it's shown in court or not. I would like to see, because I read here that there is a security video of what happened on. If it's a video, you don't have to go up there, Ms. Fugate, because I can actually see it myself. So now, those are the two cars parked on the same side of the street, and they are parked on the defendant's side of the street.
Yes, ma'am.
And your car is the...
Black car.
Your car is the black car, their car is the red car.
That's correct.
And that's Miss Fugate getting out of her car. Okay, now I'd like to see the video.
She started to move up. So I thought I'd move my car a little closer.
Shh! Don't speak.
That's when she...
Shh! Okay, I'm going to see that again, please. Oh, no, Miss Marshall, you can't do that.
It wasn't my intention.
Oh, just a second. Oh, it was absolutely your intention.
No,
it was absolutely your intention, and there was... Listen, you know, I'm an equal opportunity abuser. You can't do that. You can't do what I just saw. What I just saw is unreasonable behavior and totally inconsistent to being... Maybe, which I didn't see, slapped on the hand.
Right.
Maybe slapped on the hand. I didn't see it. But I did see you give her a substantial shove, and she is a person who has a certain infirmity, and she fell. And if she fell, and if she was injured, you're responsible. That's it. I saw you give her a shove that didn't, as you say, she decided to fall back down. No, madam. You hit her with such force that she fell backward. You say no, I say yes. I'm a judge. I win.
Sherry and Jeffrey Marshall have accused their neighbors, Joseph and Jennifer Fugate, of damaging their car. Jennifer claims she was assaulted by Sherry over a parking spot.
Now, I saw the video. I don't have to have your mother testify. You should have not created an incident, Mrs. Fugate.
I didn't.
Yes, no, yes, just a second. Yes, you did.
I was walking toward the car, and I was to go to my car and pull up because she was starting to pull her car up. And if you look, she started to pull her car up first. And then when she come around the car, she's holding her cell phone yelling, I got you on recording. I'm recording you because I'm going to show you a hate crime. Excuse me.
Just a second. Part of the problem is you and your son have to understand is a provocateur in this because he parks his car on their side of the street. I'm not getting, so what I'm doing is I am dissecting this case. If I have two unreasonable people, they're going to continue to make each other's lives miserable, and I can't control that. All I can do is hear each individual side. So, Mrs. Fugate, I have already said that Miss Marshall had no right, based upon what I saw, to push you with such force that you fell. I would like to see the medical report after the incident of December 22nd. May I see it, Kevin?
I was in the ER. Okay. And I had to wear a brace for a month on my arm and shoulder.
Did you have any out-of-pocket expense?
I paid $900 because it was Christmas holidays.
All I want to know is, did you have any out-of-pocket expense?
Yes, Your Honor.
And yes, I had...
Shh. What is this?
It's
I had to have a woman come in and clean my house.
I don't care about that.
That was out of...
I don't care about that. Return that to her. That's a cleaning bill for somebody to come in and clean. Let her clean. Okay, so filing a false police report and false arrest. Who was arrested?
I was.
And you were arrested, in my judgment, legitimately, because of based upon what I saw. So I'm dismissing...
That is not why they arrested me.
Oh, okay. So that is not the reason that you were arrested, was not this.
The reason why I was arrested is because when she hit me and when I pushed her back, when they asked me what happened, I did not tell them that she had struck me.
Miss Marshall, is the reason you were arrested based upon the occurrence of December 22nd? That's easy.
Yes, it was.
Well, that's what I said. So don't say no. The reason you were arrested and claim falsely is as a result of the December 22nd incident.
But I was cleared.
I don't care whether you were cleared or not. I didn't clear you. The burden of proof in a criminal case is proof by beyond a reasonable doubt, okay? That is not the burden of proof in a civil proceeding. It's a much lower standard. I looked at that video. I believe that your conduct was unconscionable.
And not hers. You didn't see.
I think that her behavior was. I think that her behavior was stupid. I don't. Yeah. Just a second. I don't see her hitting you. I see you walking away, Miss Marshall. I see you walking away, but I saw you give her a shove that, as you say, she decided to fall back. I don't believe him. I don't believe that the damage to your car resulted from his putting his elbow on it. I told him, you have absolutely no right to save a space for your parents. I'm awarding...
The case is malicious. Okay. From what you saw him do, that's what she did. She installed a camera, set me up, manured me in front of the camera. She knew what she was doing when she hit me on the hand.
Okay, very...
She knew.
Just a second. Just a second.
All of it is
Just
malicious.
A second. It's not your judgment that I'm concerned about, madam. I'm telling you, based upon what I saw, I'm awarding Mrs. Fugate, who I think she and her son both have to understand what a public street is. I'm awarding her $2,000 on her counterclaim for her injuries as a result of the assault. I'm dismissing part of your claim for false arrest. I awarded you the $500 that you asked for your deductible. You got your $500. It's coming off the $2,000 that I've awarded Mrs. Fugate for her injuries, judgment on the counterclaim for $1,500. Thank you very much. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I wouldn't have never maliciously pushed anybody.
I've been trying to tell this story forever.
I didn't know what else she was going to do. I was trying to protect myself.
It really does harden me that there are people out there that could go and just do this.
I have always been friendly. I never bother anyone. They keep bothering us.
We're really hoping that this does resolve the issue.
I just want them to leave us alone.
Bring them to Judy Justice.
Because she really does care.
You want to know how I know that the plaintiff wasn't being truthful when she said that I wasn't being malicious, it was an accident, I did not push her that hard? If that had happened to me and I was just trying to get someone away from me, and that reaction from the defendant of falling back, I thought she almost cracked her head on the curb. I would have said, I'm so sorry, oh my goodness, I would have gone down to her, I didn't mean to push you, let me help you up. The plaintiff just walked right back to her car, and you could see her face almost had a smirk on it, just walked right back to her car like she didn't even care. And that, to me, says you knew exactly what you were doing when you put your hands on that woman.
Yeah, and I didn't see a slap.
It could have happened. I said
it could have happened. It could have happened. I just didn't see it.
That reaction
was an
above and beyond,
overreaction.
of course.
Please subscribe to my channel. There is a gym in a park. And tennis court. Ladies playing around.